Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 194. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's here too.
Yes, I am.
There's a DC Comics podcast. Every week we get together to talk about DC Comics that have come out. This week we'll be discussing Batman Pennyworth, RIP Issue 1, Superman Heroes Issue 1, Superman 20, The Flash 88, Supergirl 39, Batman and the Outsiders number 10, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy number 6, Hawkman 21, The Terrifics makes a return to the show with issue 25, and Dollhouse Family number 4. So, packed week of books, but it's also monthly Christmas because it is Solicits week. So, strap in, folks, because we got the May Solicits. And not only is it Solicits week, it's like a big Solicits week because the start of two big event level things are happening in May. So
yeah, and there's at least one book that's cancelled that we'll talk about.
Yes, I'm sad about that. More on that.
I also want to point out that, Pete, you could have just said Pennyworth RIP. I don't think there's going to ever be a number 2.
Look, one shots always say number 1, okay? What do you want from me?
Yeah, no, you could have just said Pennyworth RIP.
I say that, there's literally a one-shot in the Solicits that doesn't have an issue 1 at the end of it, but that's just because they're being
there
weird.
You go.
That's because they're being weird.
I'm just saying. It's not like this is like Secrets and Origins number 1, where we could do it. I mean, I'm pretty sure, even if they bring Alfred back, he's not going to die again. Oh, that's what Didio wants me to think, so
yeah,
I'm on to him.
If they do, like, let's say he comes back after 5G, we've reboot the universe a little bit, people have come back from death, and Alfred's back. I hope if they do kill him again, just to make you wrong in this conversation, they do an issue called Batman RIP issue 2.
Yeah.
Or Pennyworth RIP issue 2, you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, yes, so that's DC Comics podcast. So we've got a lot of books to get through, we've got Solicits to get through, so we will forgo the small talk this week, because it's going to be a long show anyway, even without that. And we'll get diving into the meat of the material here. So, big week. So we knew that we were getting an announcement this week for Metal 2, right? Which, at the time, that's what we were kind of referring to it as. I don't know if we knew that last episode. I think it was after last episode we got the, Snyder teased the image. It said the announcement was coming on Wednesday or whatever.
I think we were kind of expecting it in this batch of Solicits, given that we had the chainsaw tease at the end of that Justice League issue.
Yeah, but we didn't. It was after the show, though, where he said that, an announcement's coming on Wednesday. He specified the day.
I think so, yeah.
I think that was new. So we got the announcement proper on Wednesday. As they always like to do, they like to give some of the big announcements before the Solicits hit. There's 2 big ones this month. There's actually a few things in the Solicits that weren't announced at all beforehand. So that's always exciting when you go through the Solicits. Like, there's some surprises in here. That's always nice. But obviously, Dark Knight's Death Metal issue 1 is the big, first of the 2 big stories from these Solicits. I'd actually forgotten that Metal was called Dark Knight's Metal. I'd completely forgotten that was the full title of that. And especially I'd forgotten it was spelt without the K, because it still looks weird to me. I'm like, well, I mean, at least this one makes more sense because it's not Batman focused, but I mean, the last one was.
Justice League.
Odd. Yeah. Wonder Woman, they're saying is the lead of this, the central character of it all. So.
I mean, she was the first image with the Chainsaw of Justice, so.
Makes sense.
As you do.
Yeah.
So this is starting in May. It's 6 issues. It will be running monthly, but will take 1 month off in August. They're planning for a skip month, which actually I remember Metal 1 doing the exact same thing. I think it may even have been
Hawkman stuff in between there.
Yeah, but I think it was literally August though last time as well. I feel like for some reason August is sticking out in my mind as being the month that they skipped.
I wonder if because did we get a one shot in that month before? I think we did.
Probably, yeah. Maybe we'll announce something in a couple of months.
Close to the time. We didn't know about that till much closer to the time as well.
Presumably whenever the Solicits for August dropped.
Yeah.
So I'll read the description here for issue 1 they've got in the Solicits. So obviously this is Snyder and Capullo, which we knew going in, and that's what it was going to be. So get ready for the earth-shattering encore. The legendary team behind Dark Knight's Metal and Batman Last Night on Earth take center stage and reunite for one last tour. When the Earth's enveloped by the dark multiverse, the Justice League is at the mercy of the Batman who laughs. Which, I'm sick of him, but it does make sense that he's the final villain for this, at least, so I hope this is the capper. I hope this puts him away for a long time.
I feel like it must, and not just because I want it to be, but like that feels like the natural arc of that story, right?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
Humanity struggles to survive in a hellish landscape twisted beyond recognition, while Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman all have been separated and fight to survive. Unleash the beast and let the headbanging begin. So it sounds like we're getting kind of like an apocalyptic, like full-scale no man's land of like hell on earth kind of stuff.
Connor, do you know much about death metal?
I've listened to my fair share.
Give us a soundtrack that's post-apocalyptic. Like what bands?
I'm gonna have to go away and make one up. I'm gonna make a Spotify playlist later.
Last time they actually made an album for metal, so I mean they might do it. They might do it again.
Yeah, there was actually some really good songs on that.
Yeah, but like, I guess they could have Mastodon back because I know Mastodon did one of them. They're pretty ethereal. That would fit. I don't know too much of death metal.
Some Slayer. They're borderline death metal.
Yeah.
Sepultura maybe.
Okay. I definitely want to hear Raining Blood while reading this, so that's fine. That works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning, this is a $4.99 book, which is not any longer, but even the regular covers are cardstock, so they're doing all cardstock covers for this, which is why it's... So, as much as I'm at the point where I kind of expect events to be that $1 more expensive anyway, at least it has the cardstock cover. Now, it'd be nice to have the choice to get the cheaper version without the cardstock, but...
At least they're, like, trying to seem like, hey, we're at least giving you some extra value, not just, it's $5.
Well, and I'm also willing to bet that there's not a lot of ads in this, if any.
Very possible.
Because it's a big event book, so it could be 32 full pages of story and art.
They've been pretty good at letting Snyder and Capullo have a lot of extra page count without charging tons more.
Yeah.
So,
I would bet you money right now that issue 6 will be oversized with no charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bet you money it's not overcharged because it depends how much bigger it is. I mean, it could end up being if it's double size, they'll charge more for it. But yeah, I could see it.
They'll charge like $1 more. It's like Last Night on Earth wasn't that much more. Number 3 than the other two. I don't remember what it was.
No, I think it was like an extra $1 or so. Yeah, but it was like a lot extra pages.
It was double sized.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No.
But no, this is very exciting. Just not even the title because that's pretty rad. They actually are calling it death metal, but what it means for Snyder, I guess this is his last hurrah with superheroes at DC for right now.
For a while. Yeah. It's sort of thing where I can see him coming back in like 5 years after a break where he's just doing indie stuff for a while. I can see him sort of coming back and doing like some Green Lantern run or something. But... It's
interesting that there's been hints of him doing maybe some JSA stuff. Right. And, if that's after this book, I wouldn't be too surprised if he does get straight into doing a JSA. But like it's more, clean slate. This is the end of, these last, 10 years or whatever it's been of Snyder at DC.
Yeah, and it won't be a big, huge story. It'll be... More how I enjoy him. Like
admittedly, when I said that there, I completely forgot that they were teasing the JSA book. Like literally last week we were talking about that. But I mean, I guess with that, it's like it's set in the past. It's very separate from everything that's going on in the current DC continuity. So even though it's going to be relevant to continuity because they're reshaping all the continuity, it's going to be in its own little bubble way back in the past. It's not going to be shaping everything as it goes. Now, Metal 1 was enjoyable. I thought it sagged in the middle and, did have some of those Snyder problems, but it was, for the most part, pretty fun. And maybe he works better in a 6-issue event than he does a 39-issue ongoing because he tried to sustain that feeling of eventness for 39 issues and it got kind of fatiguing. But, so we'll see. But some cool covers for this. You got Art Germ and all that on there for the covers.
I'm looking forward to this, though, a lot. Like, in the sense that I don't expect a big, deep story out of this, but I expect to have a very fun time for 6 issues, and if it's fun and has some nice art, which it's going to, then I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. So moving on then to the other big thing this week, which I would say I'm more excited for, just because it's a bit more about DC's universe going forward, is the Generation one shot. So obviously we know we're building to 5G, so we're getting one shots.
Or is it G5 now?
It could be G5, depending on what they end up
calling
it.
Or it's 5G, or it's Generation Mystery, or whatever the hell they're dropping on us.
Yeah. So what they're doing here, so it's interesting that Metal's starting in May, it'll finish in November because of the skip month. These Generation one-shots are also starting in May, they're starting in May 27th, and they should finish in September. The 5th one should be in September, so there's going to be 5 one-shots. So the first one is just Generation 1. It doesn't even say Issue 1, it just says Generation 1. So presumably we'll get Generation 2, Generation 3, so on. So in fact, I could tell you what they're all going to be, not called, because it does appear to just be Generation 1, Generation 2,
but they all have a subtitle that is not on the official
they're not on the cover.
but it is on the covers, yeah.
So Generation 1 is Age of Mysteries. And then we have Generation 2 in presumably June, which will be called Age of the Metahuman. So you can sort of already see that's a Silver Age, sort of really coming into it. Generation 3, Age of Crisis, speaks for itself. Crisis on Infinite Earths, that kind of era. Generation 4, Age of Rebirth. I'm going to assume that includes the New 52 stuff as well, sort of, as the era.
That's like post-crisis, whatever this new thing is. That's that era.
I mean, Age of Crisis is presumably Infinite Earths through to Flashpoint.
Yeah.
And
well,
then...
no, because
no. No, oh, yeah, you're right. I thought Connor said something else. I thought he said Infinite Crisis, not Infinite Earths. I was going to correct him. But I could see the argument that Age of Rebirth starts with Green Lantern Rebirth, because that was the first big Rebirth thing. But I would assume, though, it's going to be Flashpoint to, with the new thing.
To now.
Yeah. And then Generation 5 is Age of Tomorrow, which, is vague enough for us that we don't really,
Yeah. And obviously we spoke last week about the new the free comic book day, Generation 0, which is Gods Among Us.
Yeah, so that's obviously going to be a setup for this. Luckily, Scott Lobdell is not listed for any of these going forward, so he's only on the 0 thing.
Small mercies, right?
Yeah, I want to read this Newsarama article here about the whole announcement. This is not from the Solicits, although the Solicits, I'm sure, has some of this in there as well. So DC's going to roll this out. These 5 one-shot stories, which are, for all the record, at least the first one is, I assume the rest are going to be the same, 48 pages at $6, so they're just over annual sized, fair enough price for the page count you're getting, makes it feel nice and meaty. So they're written by a brain trust of writers, so it's going to include Bryan Michael Bendis, Dan Jurgens, Andy Schmidt, Robert Venditti, and Joshua Williamson are going to be among the writers here, with art by Doug Mahnke, Brian Hitch, Mikel Yarin, Ivan Reis, David Marquez, and more. That is a pretty fine list of artists.
The and more is the only little bit that concerns me, because all the rest of them, it correlates to one team per issue, right?
Yes.
And I think the solicit for this one is just Mahnke on this one.
I think that's what it's. Let me just go back to the solicit. It says. It actually isn't as clear because it doesn't have the usual bit at the top. It just says all-star team of writers and artists. The solicit is actually a little bit different than normal.
Okay, maybe it's in this article that said the main story then, and maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Yeah,
I'm expecting it's going to be a main story and then some like side stories about other characters set in that time period.
Yeah, it could be.
But presumably the point of all this is to sort of like set in stone what the continuity is right now, so I imagine all the stories will have a purpose in that way. So this will establish, okay, what Superman's origin was, what Wonder Woman's origin was, what Captain Atom was doing at the time, if he's relevant, maybe not him, maybe someone else, but
yeah.
So I think it's super interested for that. So Generation 1 Age of Mysteries, this is written by Andy Schmidt, with the lead artist being Doug Mahnke. So again, so there seems to be a lead story and then other stories within that'll have different art. So presumably all the ones they told us about in that first bit are all the headliners, which
I would assume so, yeah.
Which is totally fine with me, because in fact Doug Mahnke, well, he's probably even to Brian Hitch actually in terms of expectation, but Mikel Yarin, Ivan Reis, and David Marquez, I'm pretty looking forward to all their turns for sure. So here's DC's official announcement, the description. What was the previously undocumented Big Bang of the Age of Mysteries? Which character truly ushers in the dawn of superheroes, inspiring all the rest? What was the real reason behind the Justice Society of America's retirement? Which Golden Age hero became history's greatest villain? What contentious alliance kept the Wayne family dynasty alive after Thomas and Martha's deaths? Who are the new, never-before-seen wildcards that will be instrumental in fashioning DC's push to the future? So a lot of big things are setting up here with these Generation 1 shots. It's kind of exciting having this and Metal kind of running alongside each other, and it definitely points to December, January being kind of the real kickoff for whatever 5G is going to be. So that's pretty cool.
Just a little bit that you just skipped over. It mentions that this first one shot It'll have covers from Jim Chung and Gary Frank. And I know Gary Frank was teasing something on Twitter this week where it looked like a Wonder Woman and JSA sort of outfit. I wonder if that's just the cover for this.
It could be, yeah, that would fit with this, yeah. It says it'll focus on Golden Age characters such as Wonder Woman, Alan Scott as Green Lantern, Jim Corrigan as the Spectre, Terry Sloan as Mr. Terrific, Lucius Fox, Alfred Pennyworth, and more. Is this going to be a young Alfred and Lucius, I assume, then, since we're in the past?
I would assume so, which, I mean, immediately is changing this timeline in an interesting way, right? Because we've heard rumors about how, okay, Batman is going to be older by the end of this, right? And that plays because, I mean, it depends how far back we're going with this, but...
Yeah, if they're using metal as the thing that, at the end of it, that rewrites the timeline, and that's what creates this new continuity.
It shifts.
It's interesting that we're getting all the pieces of what the new continuity is as we're reading that, so that when we're ready to start the new stories going forward, it's already in place.
And that's if it is in metal, because again, there was rumors that Snyder didn't want to include all that stuff in his story.
Oh, sure, so there might be
but remember how the last metal finished, and it led into Justice. So I think it's capable of that.
It is.
I mean, the type of stuff that I get excited for, because if they're rewriting it and I feel now it's like a puzzle,
it could just as equally be a couple of months event in December, January that does the actual crisis-y part of it. Yeah. That sets all this up. But we're putting all the pieces together as we go of what this new continuity is going to be, which is exciting. I'm very intrigued to see how they do all this. And presumably Batman now, he comes out for the first time during the age of the metahuman, during the Silver Age. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, but...
Because that's the contentious alliance that keeps the Wayne family dynasty alive.
Yeah.
Right? So we know that they die here. So is that Lucius and Alfred about Bruce or what?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I want to assume it's at least partially Alfred with someone, but contentious? I don't see that being Lucius.
Is there a Batman and Superman in this Age of Mysteries?
Superman, I'm going to say no. I don't think so. I think Superman comes a little bit later. Because
we have Wonder Woman who is with the JSA, and that to me says that there's no Batman or Superman until Silver Age time. But I mean...
Right, but that means Bruce can still be around, right? If his parents die here...
Oh, you can be a kid. Yeah, you can be a kid just... Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm with Matt on that. I think that we might have that there. It's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, you can be a kid.
Come of age in the age of crisis, right? And that's the first...
Yeah, he can be a kid just now, and then obviously by the time he's actually Batman aged, is age of metahuman is what they call it.
Yeah, because like you say, we know that Thomas and Martha are dying during this time period, this bit, because we're dealing with something after their death. Which Batman probably is going to be age of metahuman that he debuts.
And other stuff too, the Justice Society's retirement. Like, are we doing the McCarthy thing where they're pressuring them to reveal who they are and they just decide not to, so they retire anonymously, and some of them keep going? Like, there's an Incredibles kind of vibe.
That would be a nice thematic link with Doomsday Clock as well, with the tensions about metahumans. Like, the idea that the JSA were, forced into retirement because of the way people were treating them and wanting them to reveal themselves, and the political side of it. It would definitely carry some of those themes across, which is cool.
And like, what is the Generation Zero playing into this about gods walking among men? Like, is that New Gods? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, that's the Wally West shenanigans.
We're not talking about that.
You brought it up.
No, but just like, what does that mean going forward? So this is all very exciting. This reminds me of those images that DC used to put out that were thematic. So there was like a I always used to use them as a background on my computer. But it would be like who would wear the cowl, right? And there's all this different stuff, and they weren't meant to, this is exactly how it's going to go, but these were clues for where the story was going, and this feels like that. Or Rip Hunter's chalkboard, also you'd see pop up from time to time. This feels like that, so
no,
I'm excited.
I get this is exciting. I think for me, I'm more excited by metal in the sense that I feel it's more of a known quantity, so I know what to expect. So I'm excited based off of those expectations.
Yeah.
This, has a lot of room to go horrifically wrong.
I feel Joe's funny.
Terrifying.
I feel like I'm more excited for this for the exact same reason. Because it's a known quantity and I know what to expect, whereas this is exciting because it could be different and there's so many big things it could set up.
I get that. I think this is absolutely more intriguing and has the potential to be a lot more. Whereas Metal, I'm expecting I'm going to have a lot of fun with this book, and I'm excited for that. Whereas this, well, I'm excited to see what happens and the mystery of it all. I'm a little bit scared that it's all going to go horrifically wrong and it's going to be a train wreck.
Hey,
I just hope I don't get popcorn on my fingers, popcorn butter, while reading these because I'm excited for both. So
So yeah, that's Generation 1 coming out. That's the final week of May. That's on week 4. So what's nice about that is I feel like with Doomsday Clock, even though it wasn't every month, we had this main event for a while. I feel like Metal and Generations will give us a couple of main events each month.
And it feels like this is the metaverse at play at this point now because if someone like Wonder Woman's going to be there from the beginning and she's the first and she's aware of all these changes or whatever, I have zero reason to believe that other than just headcanon. But why make her the first if she's not going to have some part going forward throughout history? So
I think that is maybe the one thing that does lend some credence towards Metal to kind of spiraling into this, in that Wonder Woman's a big part of that book and is, they're saying, oh, she's the lead. And obviously she's the linchpin for the start of this.
Right. Well, it's almost as if Perpetua that Diana has a hand in I don't want to say reshaping because that's not something Diana would do, but if like Connor said, she's the linchpin of it all, and then so whatever happens in Metal, with Diana, that's what causes her, with the timeline shift.
Yeah, it could be something she does not because she's just being hubris and I'm going to reshape things.
No.
It could be something where she's forced into you have to re-alter the timeline because things need to be fixed. So she just has to.
The multiverse is broken.
Joe's funny about
corrupted.
Is that I think that if there's any influence from the success of certain movies, the idea that we're getting all this Wonder Woman being the center of all this could very well be in part kind of inspired by the fact that she's definitely the most popular movie character the last few years.
Yeah.
Which is not a complaint. Honestly, Wonder Woman is overdue to be the center of something like this. Batman and Superman have done this multiple times where they've been the center of big events and things like that. So it's not a complaint. It's just it's a nice excuse to do it, but.
Well, and it lines up with Wonder Woman 84, so why not give her more spotlight if her movie's out?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, she's got a new movie coming out. That's a good point, yeah. So, it makes sense. So moving on to some other stuff here. We got a mini starting in May, which, it says a digital first, although this sounds like it's the print release. Has it already been out digitally? Or is it...
No, let me just find the other article I had on this Is
it releasing in advance digitally, I assume? Before...
It is coming out digitally in April.
Okay, so it's a little bit in advance.
And this is the print. I assume it's like the digital comics that they used to do, where it was every 3 issues of the digital got collected into one.
Yeah, print. But I'm sure it was much later when they did that last time. But this one, it sounds like once 3 are out, they're going to put the issue out. And I just keep doing it that way.
I think it'll be slightly later because what they did last time is they were pretty close at the start. Because by the time this issue came out, there was maybe 5 out, but then by the time the next issue came out, there was there's 9, and we're only on issue 6, so it kind of slipped further and further as it went on.
Okay, well, this is Batman: The Adventure Continues. This is continuing the animated series universe with Paul Dini and Alan Burnett writing, with Ty Templeton on the art. So this is a 6-issue mini. Well, at least in physical, it's 6 issues. Obviously, in digital, that'll be
so it'll be 18.
18, yeah.
My 3.
Because you get those little $1 chapters digitally. Because
assuming they're doing it the same way.
Assuming, yeah. Which, honestly, that always annoyed me because it felt like such a short chapter that I wish they just gave me the full issue as if it was print.
It's frustrating because I've actually been reading through Injustice recently. I started that, and they're obviously those short chapters, and they go in so easily. Like you can just sit down and read one. It takes less than 5 minutes, and it's like bang, done. But you're just, it's dangerous because you're like, well, I can just get one more in, and then no, just one more.
Well, and then you add into that Tom Taylor and the way he writes.
Yeah,
I need to get back to that. I have other stuff I've been catching up on. I need to get back to Injustice.
I almost would rather wait for a trade for the digital stuff, just because I don't want to. It's annoying having so many little chapters like to click through. It bugs me.
It is. I will say they are formatted slightly differently, because in the digital ones they're all formatted so each page is one like landscape page, right, for a screen. So when they put that to a physical print book, they do have to kind of reorganize it and shrink it.
Yeah,
slightly.
I'm not saying reformat it. I'm just saying I'd rather give me a full single issue's worth of content so that it took that same time to read.
I would say, Pete, well, then this is for you, because if it's getting a physical release, you just get it then, right? You don't have to get the digital first, right?
Well, yeah, but they're not going to put the digital version of this up. It'll just be the original digital versions that are up. I won't have this version of it on digital.
Then you got to get into the store. Yeah.
Let me just get this right. You're concerned. You don't want it reformatted like the print version. You just want to have to click next issue less times.
Yeah.
No, I just don't want to have to buy so many little bits. It's just annoying. It's not laziness. It's not laziness. It's just annoyance.
Pete. Actually, if they do it 3 chapters, if one of these is physically is $4, and each of them are 99 cents a piece. Right there, you're coming out ahead. So you're saving money. All I gotta say here is I tried this with the Batman Beyond that Higgins was doing, because it was an actual sequel to the series, and my patience ran thin, just because like what Pete's talking about, getting the little pieces piecemeal.
Yeah.
And I said I'll come back to this, and I've never gone back. I got through like basically 2 issues worth.
That's what I'm talking about. It's so piecemeal. It's just annoying.
Just buy it once every month. Just buy 3 or 4 chunks at once, once a month, and then read them like that.
I mean, sure. It's just I'll forget though. That's the thing. I'll forget that it exists by waiting to do that. It just is what it is. Anyway, so as Batman the Adventures Continue, issue 1.
Just Ty Templeton. I didn't realize this till I just Googled. That's the original artist on the Batman Adventures book.
And they're actually reprinting that. It's right at the bottom of the solicits. I don't even know if we'd end up getting to it. They're actually reprinting those single issues for $1.99.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Next up, obviously, January through April all had at least one of these, so why not one for May? We have an 80th anniversary, 100-page, super spectacular. This one for Green Lantern, which has got stories written by Jeff Johns, Mariko Tamaki. I'm actually kind of excited about that. Peter J. Tomasi, Jeff Lemire, Rob Venditti, Dennis O'Neill, Sina Grace, Charlotte Fullerton, Ron Mars, James Tynion IV, and others, with art by Ivan Reis, Fernando Passarin, Daryl Banks, Mike Grell, Rafa Sandoval, and others. And it's a shame Ethan Van Sciver's such a piece of shit, because you know he would be on this list.
Don't say his name. It's like Beetlejuice. Don't.
He'd be on it with Johns, wouldn't he?
It would be, but obviously,
but we're fine. We get Ivan Reis now. Plus, I prefer
Bridges
Reis
burned
to that other guy, anyways.
and also
it just pisses me off that I had to take down that Rebirth poster.
Oh yeah,
that I had, because just out of principle.
I get it.
Yeah,
So, as with all these, we have all the decade variants. I'll just read you what those are as well. 1940s variant by Nicholas Scott.
That one's actually really exciting, because it's the same one that she did for like the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman with all the costumes, but it's actually a regular cover now and not exclusive to a store.
That's cool. 1950s by Matt Taylor, 1960s by Doug Mankey, 1970s by Neil Adams, 80s is by David Finch, 90s is by Philip Tan, 2000s is by Ivan Reis and Claire Albert, and 2010s is by Jim Lee and Scott Williams. So some names you'd expect in there.
So the Jim Lee and Scott Williams one, that's the one that looks like a Star Wars poster. Because that's the one that I want. It's got Jessica Cruz on there.
Is that the Jim Lee one?
I don't know.
That doesn't look like Jim Lee.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
But she would only make sense in the 2010s, right? Like,
if they're going to go by that logic,
they've got her on the Nicholas Scott one, which is the 40s, and I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whoever this one is,
it's very nice.
That's a nice cover.
Buying.
Me and Matt, we got done dirty because guy got stuck with bloody Finch.
And he looks like a genuine madman, and that's okay.
Honestly, that fits his character. That fits his personality, quite frankly, that art.
So I said I wasn't going to do these anymore.
Oh,
then they go and do this?
That Kyle cover's quite nice, actually. I like the Kyle one.
Is that the tan one?
I presume that's the 90s one, yeah, tan, yeah.
And then they go and put all my favorite people on one of my favorite characters.
So the big Hal, with the holding the lantern in front of him, that's the 50s by Matt Taylor.
Yeah, it looks Silver Agey. Yeah, that one looks quite nice.
The
Good covers here.
On that list that we're seeing, that's the Mankey one for the 60s. Obviously, the Neil Adams ones is the John and
Hal.
Yeah. The Nicola Scott one's really nice. It's not on that list, but if you just go on her Twitter, you can see it. It's got the new one from Far Sector as well there.
Yeah.
So who's that one then? Oh, that's not the Jim Lee. That's Ivan Reis. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea who that one that Matt likes is.
Yeah, although I like the Ivan Reis one too, because this is my era, right here.
Yeah, of course.
In one image.
Yeah, so this is, as before, $10 books on the 20th of May. What the good news is that it's actually kind of balanced out because the week's not that busy. There's one other sort of bigger issue of that week, and then it's actually a really light week, so it does actually work out quite well for us in terms of our schedules. So, yeah, Green Lantern 80th anniversary. It's nice that they're including all the lanterns, of course. Hopefully they all get a chance to shine. I'm actually, obviously, Johns is expected, Tomasi's expected, Venditti's even expected. I'm really excited about Tamaki being in there, and Lemire. So
I'm surprised Humphreys
does as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised Humphreys isn't in there for his Green Lanterns.
He could be. It does say and others.
Yeah, it does, but the fact that he's not, I don't know who Charlotte Fullerton is, but if,
maybe
Actually, I think that's the only name I don't recognize.
Yeah. Maybe Tynion's got some sort of Green Lantern thing planned. Maybe that's why they're putting them in here.
That's again. I know he was very excited. So.
Because
do you know who his lantern is?
No idea.
Given when he was reading a lot of the comics, it was probably Guy or Kyle.
Yeah.
Either or, yeah.
Because he's a Tim Robin guy. We know that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit younger than I am.
That's Kyle era mainly because that's the 90s. So
it is.
I mean, thanks to Tomasi, that's who made me love Guy. So it's not like I'm an anomaly there. I should be a Kyle guy, but I'm not. So
yeah, but Kyle's a chump. Look at that mask.
Yeah,
glorious mask. Glorious
the
crab
only
mask.
Kyle I like, Ion Kyle, perfect. He's got the domino mask.
It is just a fact that the collar is better than the crab mask.
No, collars suck. Collars are the worst. Actually, we'll talk about the new Batman suit later, but collars are terrible. We don't want collars. All right. Moving on. So out of the more regular books now, we got Batman 94 and 95. Gillen March is still in the first issue, but luckily 95 he's off it and Jorge Jimenez is on it. So hopefully
that's exciting.
That sticks. We have a one-shot sequel to Lemire's Joker Black Label book. So Joker Killer Smile we've been working through. We've had 2 issues of that so far. In May there's going to be a one-shot called Batman the Smile Killer by Lemire and Sorrentino. And this is going to be a $6, prestige format, 32-page book like the previous issues. So this is really cool. I mean, I wonder if this leads to another book after this. Like, does he keep continuing this universe?
I'm really intrigued because this one, it talks about how young Bruce Wayne grew up watching the Mr. Smiles show that we've kind of been getting stuff of in the main book. I'm really intrigued to see how this kind of plays out because it's obviously it's very different to a standard Batman mythos take at this point, but. I mean, it's a Black Label out of continuity thing. Do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
No, it's made me think that Mr. Smiles and the Fiend Firefly Funhouse seem very common. Like if it's a corrupting influence and whatnot. I'm not reading this book because I didn't like the first issue all that much, but I read this going, Oh man, Bruce, don't.
So next up, not that we're really going to talk about this much, but just to mention, we're wondering why Wilson's, the Dreaming got cancelled when Wilson was announced to be taking over it. Unsurprisingly, they've just announced it as a new issue 1. It's called The Dreaming Waking Hours issue 1, so this is G. Willow Wilson's take on that book, which we knew was coming. It is a 12-issue series, which honestly, most of these books are lucky if they survive past 12 issues, so it makes sense just to plan it for 12 issues in the first place.
Just do it as a maxi. There are chapters in a larger tapestry, so...
I get where Pete's coming from, but like all of the other, Dreaming Universe, Sandman Universe stuff are up to like the 20s by the time of this. They're all still going.
I mean, that's fair. I just mean, generally speaking, a lot of the books now that aren't the big characters do tend to be lucky if they make it past anything.
I get what you're saying, but the Dreaming was the first one that was actually cancelled, I think, and that obviously got to like 20 before this then, started straight back up on the next issue.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Next up, Event Leviathan, Checkmate issue 2, Bendis and Melo continuing that. Looking forward to it. Excited. Not much to say.
Great question cover.
We got a couple of new miniseries that weren't announced in advance. We got Man-Bat issue 1. This is a 5-issue mini, and DC usually does 6-issue minis, so it's a couple of 5-issue minis here, which is interesting. This is written by Dave Wilgoz and art by Sumit Kumar. I'll read the description here. For years, Kirk Langstrom has struggled with the monstrous alter ego Man-Bat and the serum that transformed him. But he's finally hit rock bottom following a devastating setback, and he's going to take out his anger issues on every single citizen of Gotham City. Will the combined might of Batman and the GCPD be enough to stop Langstrom once and for all, or will this just be the start of Man-Bat's devastation? So,
just
interesting.
Something interesting on that is... it seems to be very different from where we are with Man-Bat in Justice League Dark. I don't know if this is telling us maybe that's going to change in that book, or this is just set whenever.
I can see that's just been set earlier in the days of Man-Bat.
Yeah.
I can see that being a thing.
Kind of like him back to being a monster. I like the werewolf aspect.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds werewolf story-esque from the sounds of it.
It does, but it talks about how he's finally hit rock bottom following a devastating setback, which makes me think that could actually be something that's happening.
It could spin out. Yeah. Like him playing with magic happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sets him back, I don't know, but yeah. I'm okay with this.
I will say,
at first,
I like both covers, actually.
Yeah.
Both covers look good.
So I don't want to lose that version of Man-Bat that I've grown to love, but on the same time, I love werewolf stuff. So, like, there is room for both, you know?
Yeah, this sounds like a really classic Man-Bat story, but we haven't had that in a long time, so I'm okay with this.
But it's a classic Man-Bat story that seems to be kind of from his perspective, which is maybe more unique than just, Batman's, dealing with Man-Bat again. So that's pretty cool. The other 5-issue mini that's starting in May, and this is actually tying into Bendis' stuff, and it's interesting because Mark and Draco left Supergirl. I mean, we weren't really sure why at the time, but maybe it's because they had this plan, so he's doing another thing, and this is a miniseries tying into Event Leviathan. So this is Manhunters, The Secret History, issue 1 coming out in May, with Mark and Draco writing with Renato Guedes on the art. And we have, Kate Spencer, Manhunter on the cover here. Nice cover, actually. The art's quite good.
Yeah.
And this is a 5-issue mini starting May 13th. Here's the description. After the revelation of Leviathan's true identity in the pages of Event Leviathan, Kate Spencer, an earlier Manhunter, must go on a quest to uncover just how deep Leviathan's plans go. What Kate didn't expect is a conspiracy that goes back to the very beginnings of DC's history. Unearthing the past to save the future, this is Manhunters, The Secret History. Eisner Award-winning writer Mark Draco returns to his classic crime fighter in this... Has he written Manhunter before? That's just to me.
Yeah, and Draco created Kate Spencer.
Oh, I didn't know that. Fair enough.
Yeah. I went over this. Pete, thanks for listening. I went over this when we were talking about Event Leviathan.
We talk about so much stuff, Matt. I can't remember everything.
Matt remembers everything. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
I
don't remember myself when it comes to DC continuity.
Yeah,
right?
I'm trying to maintain so much movie stuff in my head and TV stuff as well as comic books here.
There's your first mistake. You gotta cut all out for make room for one. And for me, it's comics.
Yeah. We'll just turn it to nothing but comic book content. Yeah, so I don't have to worry about anything else. This is easy.
It's quite freeing, except when you're bogged down at work and have 2 massive sized books to read and zero time to do it, and it makes you very cranky.
So yes, so I'm excited about this. I think Draco's Supergirl was really good. It did a nice job of complementing what was going on in Superman. I think this could really help complement what Event Leviathan revealed.
And we know that he's got a lot of affection for Kate Spencer, so this book will be, I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, and I've certainly never read anything that focuses on Kate Spencer, so it'll be nice to actually have her as the lead of a book, which for me is a first, so that's cool. Yeah. So obviously Connor's not going to read this.
It's kind of frustrating because it sounds interesting, but then it's like all of it is like, oh look how it's tied into Leviathan. I'm like,
Yeah, but I think for the greater DC universe and what you know about Leviathan from listening to us ramble,
I never think you ramble.
Well, never mind then. I retract my previous statement.
Next up, Strange Adventures issue 3. So we're at issue 3 of Tom King's book. So again, 40 pages, $5 as the previous issues were. So pretty cool. Covers are interesting here. They're very similar. Both covers have a very similar pose. One's like two guys. It's this headbutting, and the other one's like a kiss between Strange and presumably his wife.
So is that the Shaner one, the blue one, or is the Garrett's the blue one?
Is that? I think the Shaner's the blue one because the other one looks more Garrett's-y to me. But I could. Yeah. Honestly, they're not as.
Because there's no watermark or signature.
Garrett's posted the blue one on his Twitter.
Oh, really?
So that might be his, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's him. It's got his. It says Mitch on the bottom.
I genuinely thought the other one looked more Garrett's-y, but I mean.
I see the Mitch. Well,
and maybe, and then you have the Shaner up in the top. Like, look at the headband, who I'm assuming is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I see it, so,
But if that's the point that they're kind of mimicking each other, so they'll cross over at a certain point, then I think that's kind of cool. But
do you know what I think is a lot of it is the colors on Shayna's, the blood splatter looks like Mitch's colors.
Oh yeah, and I think Shayna's image, the coloring does not look a Shayna image at all.
No, because it's not as flat like Shayna's. Because Shayna's always has that pulpy,
soft, borderline watercolor feel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
anyways, I'm gonna have to be getting that blue cover because that blue cover looks amazing.
Oh, sure.
I shouldn't be surprised, though, because it is Garrett's.
Yeah. Next up, there's some unfortunate news, Matt. Action Comics 1023 still has John Romita Jr. on art. On the upside, we must be getting near the end of the arc by this point. He must be ready to go.
I think you're underestimating just how quickly Romita Jr. can churn out a full month's issue.
No. Come on, June, baby. June's going to be the good news month. June's going to get rid of the bastard. Let's do it.
It's the same story that I'm not enjoying, and I click on the cover, and it's got the really bad flipping Grodd again, and
oh my, Superman's face on the Romita Jr. cover. Superman's face is something else.
That's such a step down from what is quite a nice variant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the variant's really pretty. So yeah, that's Action Comics. Aquaman 60 still Kelly Sue. Good news. That's still ongoing.
Do you see what they named the baby? I don't want to spoil it for anybody. And I love this. So
I would have put an I at the end, but instead of a Y. But other than that, sure.
It plays into what Kelly Sue's been doing from the beginning. So the fact that it plays here, and oh man, I just really love Aquaman right now.
Next up, we got Batgirl 47, still by Castellucci.
That's a tie into Joker War.
Yeah, it's tied into Joker War, and the
can we stop?
The solicit is very, it doesn't say much. It's just like the joke. It's like knock, who's there? The Joker who? The Joker who's here to have a nice chat with Barbara Gordon, which obviously is.
That's not even a good knock joke.
Well, obviously it's not, but the whole point is to make you think of Killing Joke, right? Because that's literally what happened. He was at the door, so So we're tied into Joker War. That's the thing.
Can we stop having Batgirl tie into things and let me get back to enjoying it like I was before?
You say that, but the thing that it's doing now is instead of the City of Bane epilogue. So, I mean, I might have preferred the City of Bane epilogue.
Well, judging from what we got in Alfred R.A.P., maybe, but I forget who said it on Twitter. It's like, can we just get away from Joker right now? Between the Batman Who Laughs and now this Joker War, like, let's just put him on the shelf for right now.
There's a lot of Joker. I can't argue with it. There's a lot of Joker.
Yeah. And like this, like I understand, but with Joker showing up and Joker War with Babs and their history, but we get one of these that feels like at least once a year.
It kind of does, yeah.
Right?
And it's not really been, I think it feels once a year. It's really more like every 2 or 3, but it feels once a year.
Yeah, but it feels so.
Yeah.
Just let it
move on.
Yeah. Back when Batgirl was one of my favorite books because it felt so independent of, it was Babs, but she was, doing her own thing. And here it just seems like now, between Year of the Villain and this.
It feels like we've got about 6 issues between Year of the Villain and then into this. And you just feel it like it's got no agency of its own.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the upside, this seems like it's going to be a one-issue thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's a benefit, but still.
So we'll see. We got Batman Outsiders number 13, Brian Hill. We got Gleb Melenkov in the art. Hopefully that's just a 1 month because Dexter Soy has been absolutely phenomenal in that book. So
yeah, but you've been reading the Buffy stuff. It says Gleb Melenkov is from Angel. So what's that art like, Pete?
It's actually kind of similar to Dexter stylistically.
Yeah, it is actually.
That fits then.
I mean, Soy had 1 issue off before between. I wasn't even. I mean, because this book's been so serialized that it didn't really have like an off story, but
no.
He did have 1 issue off between 6 and 7 or whatever it was, or 6 and 8, I suppose would be the accurate way of saying that. But so hopefully, but I mean, hey, Melenkov has been solid on Angels, so. I can't necessarily get upset by it either. Batman Beyond 44's still going with Dan Jurgens. That book just will not die. So,
but I love what happens here. It's playing with its own mythology, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I'm happy for people who like it that it's still going. Batman's Grave number 7. That's the Warren Ellis book, issue 7 to 12. So that's still going. We got
Frank Whiteley variant, which that
is nice.
I don't like Whiteley's art, so
here's one that came out kind of randomly here. Batman Secret Files issue 3. So we're getting like a Batman one shot with stories by Tynion the Fourth, tying into the main book, obviously. Vita Leia, Mariko Tamaki again. I'm happy to see her name
just
popping up.
doing work in Gotham, huh?
Dan Waters, Philip Kennedy Johnson also writing with art by Sumit Kumar, Andy Tong, Riley Rosmo. John Paul Leon. Oh, John Paul Leon, I do like. And Victor Ibanez. So,
Sumit Kumar, that was on the Man Bat book?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I wonder if
I looked up their art and it's very, very, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. Event Leviathan.
Maleev?
Help me out here. Maleev, thank you.
Okay, that's
it's
cool.
very Maleev-esque. So if it's the right one that came up. Sumit Kumar's also a Indian cricketer. So it was a very difficult Google search because even if I put in comics, I was getting stuff for cricket. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it looks like.
I'll read the solicit for this here. Spreading out the pages of Batman, discover the origins and motivations behind the cabal of assassins who have come to Gotham to stop Batman from enacting his plans to save the city, including Deathstroke, Cheshire, Merlin, and the new threats of Mr. Teeth and Gunsmith. We need to find out about Mr. Teeth. I know more about Mr. Teeth. What brought this team together and who is the frightening enough to boss Deathstroke around? It's 5 killer tales from 5 killer creative teams in this can't miss issue. Honestly, as far as tie-ins go, I think this is a really smart, way of doing it. Just have a one shot with a bunch of short stories related to what's going on.
I'm a little frustrated that this isn't just in the main book. If you're doing like, hey, who brought this team together? This is all about that. I feel like it should be part of the main book.
No, because I feel like whatever it's going to be, I get the tie-ins there, but I don't feel it's going to be that important. This is just. Yeah. They're selling people. This is why you need to buy. I don't think.
It's
no means reading comics. I used to fall for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just if we're matching up the creative teams, I don't like that it seems that Tamaki is with Rosmo.
I wouldn't necessarily assume they're in the same order that we see there.
Okay.
That said, Rosmo, I kind of blanked out when you said that reading the list.
Yeah,
Rosmo's not one I like, but I mean, Kumar, if it's Maleev I'll be into that, and I know I like John Paul Leon, so I'm into that. So I'm kind of into this for what it is. It's like I think as far as tying into things go, this is not infecting other books. This is just giving us a nice little optional batch of stories.
Yeah, it will be extremely low down on my priority that week. So if I'm running short on time, I just won't bother with this.
Sure.
Because it doesn't immediately excite me. I'm like, sure, it's there, but. If I've got time, I'll read it. If not, oh well.
Yeah, I'm definitely reading it. I'm if nothing else for the Tynion and Tamaki stories, I'm definitely there. So that takes us to Batman Superman number 10. That's still going. No Marquez on the art here. I don't know if that's a permanent change or whatever, but Clayton Henry's on the art. So that's cool. I'm just actually reading the solicit. I'm just glancing at the solicit here just to check if it's still heavily tied into things. It sounds like it's doing its own thing now.
Yeah, it's the Atomic Skull.
This is the Atomic
thing,
Skull.
right?
Yeah, so that's good.
So I clicked on the cover before I had read the thing, the solicit, and I got excited that I thought that was a new Monsieur Mallah in the brain, but it's just Ultra Humanite. So I thought they had combined them, and I was like, that's rad. But I mean,
I think that's on you. I think, Matt. In this case,
it is. Can we let Connor read this one?
Which one?
The solicit for the next book?
No. Shut up.
Please.
No. I know what he's getting at. Just carry on, Pete.
I don't know what he's getting at.
Nothing happened.
Matt, explain yourself. So we're talking about Catwoman 23 here. Matt, explain what's going on.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I want Connor to read who's writing Catwoman 23.
Blake Northcott.
No, and he's got some help there. It's a team.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, who is it?
Sean Murphy.
Yeah. So Connor went to Twitter when this information was released, saying that it's got a cover by Sean Murphy, but there's no confirmation that he's writing it. And me and James both looked at him and went, "But it's in the top line."
Yep. I don't know what happened with my eyesight that day. I think I blurred and read because the art by is almost right underneath where Sean Murphy's name is, and I just glanced at it and was reading like diagonally somehow, and I don't know what happened. I read that like 5 times before I was like, it doesn't say it. I was convinced. My brain just was not seeing it.
So, out of curiosity, are you guys curious to check this issue out based on Murphy?
I'm getting this issue.
Okay, that's a straight answer.
I'm getting this issue. I'm not going to catch up like I tried with Terrifics.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Just jump in.
I will check this one out just because Murphy, because I enjoy what he's doing with characterizations in White Knight. So I'm wondering how this version of Selina in the modern continuity, because we haven't gotten Selina at all in White Knight. So.
No, it'll be interesting to see how, because this will be a much more traditional, like normal version. I assume he'll still be playing those roles, and this is a 2-part story as well. So
no, I might jump on as well for this issue.
That cover is everything that I want.
Is the Murphy one or the other one? Because the other one's quite nice.
The Murphy one. I mean, it's got her in her animated series costume. Which, that's a plus. It looks like it's got drones, putting spotlights down like it's those old 40s movies.
It kind of reminds you of the blimps from the animated series.
Yeah. And then what looks like a castle that she's going to have to get into. So I'm here for this. So
next up, Detective Comics 1023, which is following on from Joker War, the looks of it. When did I think I've said this like the last 3 solicits, but when did this go single shipping? Because I feel like it wasn't when Tomasi took over.
It definitely.
No, it wasn't when Tomasi took over. It's fairly recent that it's gone.
Yeah. Okay. No, just
still getting the best variant covers though.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Good stuff. Flash 755 and 756, of course, coming out. Flash Age going there, so is what it is. Genlock 7, we won't really talk about that. Green Lantern Season 2 Issue 4 is coming out. We've got Harley Quinn 73, still Sam Humphries writing that. Hawkman.
That Frank Cho, where she's holding a title belt, and I clicked on it, and I'm like, wait, do I need to go back and read Harley? Because she's involved in a wrestling league, and I kind of want to. So that might be a thing I do if I have time.
We'll see. Hawkman 24, Venditti with Passarin and Albert on art.
More of the same. I'm here for it.
Yep.
I'm here for that. I think that's the variant here. That is a fantastic variant.
Yeah, the variants, nice. They're really nice, Just League Dark 23. Interesting list, James 10 the 4th with Ram V on writing.
Someone asked him about this on Twitter. He said that because the Ram V is using like his loose ends and kind of broad note strokes, he's still getting credited as co-writer, as ideas and story, rather, and then Ramby's getting plot and script.
That's fine.
Yeah. And
that's
like,
cool.
I'm always looking for reasons to drop books just to have more time. And I was like, oh, I might be able to drop Justice League Dark, but by May, there's no way because the Parliament of Life is concluding, and they got Animal Man there.
See what comes next, right?
Yep. So.
Yeah. Then next up, we got Justice League 46 and 47. Zermanic was on 46, which is pretty cool. Only one issue of the two, though, admittedly. He's only on one, but all nice all the same. The cover by Clayman is pretty nice.
It is nice. I prefer the 47 Gary Frank cover.
47 Gary Frank. Okay, that's also beautiful. I think what I like about that Clayman cover though is that I think it's rare we see Wonder Woman with her hair tied back, so it's actually just kind of unique looking on top of being cool.
Yeah.
And she looks physically imposing.
Oh yeah, she's mostly as shit.
Like that's I always say one of my favorite moments in DC is in New Frontier when Wonder Woman stands up and she's taller than Superman.
Yeah,
she's just this physically imposing warrior.
No, she looks
really. Here, that's the vibe I'm getting.
She looks really built, but not in like a silly Rob Liefeld Captain America way or anything like that. Just in a proper.
No. She looks like an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she has that. Yeah.
No, she looks badass.
That's real cool.
And the regular cover again by Gary Frank is also really nice. So
I don't think that one's anywhere near as nice as his second one though.
No, that's not with all the dragons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool, but this
is that dragons or is it like a Ghidorah style thing with multiple necks?
It could be a Hydra, but they look like. I mean, it looks like a dragon to me.
They're coming from the same place, though, right? They're all coming from the same body.
Yeah, but I was looking at the thumbnail, Pete. So it looks like multiple dragons.
Ghidorah! Although there's more than 3, admittedly, but still, Ghidorah!
Yeah. There's at least...
There's 4.
4, and then there's at least 1 cut off as well.
Oh, yeah, okay, so there was 5. All right, nice.
Well, and we know if it's a Hydra, 2 more are going to grow up, so there'll be, 6.
Yeah. Just like Odyssey 21, somehow that book's still going, so fair enough. Dad, I'm there, get a paycheck. I can't fault it.
Always say that.
Free Starfire.
Free stuff.
Free
Once
just
a
a cruise.
We get to the solicit and just go, yep, still not cancelled.
Yeah. Legion of Superheroes number 7, Bendis and Soot, go continuing as on. I'm just looking at those covers. I like both of those actually, in different ways. I probably like the one that's all their backs turned to the camera, as it were. Really nice.
Really? I'm not a big fan of that one. I like the variant a lot more.
No, I like it. It's really stylish and it's got a nice sort of city lights or like sci-fi lights feel to it. I like it.
Well, there's that, and it's kind of funny because they have their hands up, and we all know where that story is going with the Legion being in trouble. So,
yeah. It's something very, even though it's like obviously the police force or whatever, like it's arresting them. It's very close encounters the way all the lights are shining at them. Lois Lane number 11. That book's almost done. So that's pretty cool. Looney Tunes 255. I'll just gloss over that. Metal Men number 8. So that's trucking along.
So that new look that we saw with all the animals, apparently that's the Animal Gas Gang, which that is my new favorite name for anything. And my group that gets together to go to Taco Bell, that's our new name. we will be the Animal Gas Gang.
That's nothing. On the new Picard this week, they introduced Romulan warrior nuns into the mix. So
can we rewind? So I like some people have like, hey, a group of people that will get together and play D&D with, or watch a film and think. Matt is, let's get together and go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, we gotta eat before you do this stuff. Let's be real though. At my age now, there's not a lot of getting together with other people. There's, hey Ash, you want to go to Taco Bell? No. All right. Well, I'll be back. That's where it is now.
I know that feeling.
Nightwing 72. Which I'm going to point out the solicit here because it does actually seem to be hinting that he's going to be becoming himself again soon.
Yeah.
It says Dick Grayson has learned the truth that fixing his identity lies with none other than Barbara Gordon. He must go to Gotham and find Batgirl. And then there's a whole thing about how he runs into Punchline, the Joker's new henchwoman.
Have we talked about what Tynion has said on Twitter about Punchline?
I don't think so.
She's absolutely just going to be a villain.
Yeah, and that with the popularity of Harley Quinn and where she's at and where she started, he likes the idea of Joker having a henchwoman, but Harley's so popular you can't turn her back into a villain because she has her own character.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's something that kind of bugs me actually, is that there's certain characters who we're not allowed to have as villains anymore because there's such a big fan base for them now that we're just not allowed to do it because that fan base will just be livid if you do it.
Well, it's not just that. It's she's kind of blossomed into her own, to where you really couldn't change Lois Lane into a villain.
No, it's kind of funny though, because I get what you're saying. Like, you're getting to that point with like Poison Ivy, where
well, because that was the whole thing with Tom King's Batman one. There was that story where she killed someone, and the weird thing is that it wasn't even she killed someone present day. She killed someone back in the early days of Batman when she was definitely supposed to be a full villain, and people got really upset about it. And I'm like, okay, I don't have a problem with her like growing and having a redemption story, but you're going to be mad that she killed people when she was supposed to be full on Poison Ivy.
More on that when we talk about Harley and Ivy.
Sure.
That's definitely brought up.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's interesting how like you had characters like Riddler who was going straight for a while, and then went, screw it, we'll just make him a villain again, and no one batted an eyelid.
No.
It's a certain type of fan base, I think, that gets really upset with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but with what I like of what him doing with Punchline is like, well, no, she's going to be distinct. She's not just going to be Harley 2.0. She is going to be different in her own ways. And reading from this, it sounds like there's a lot of black humor and deadpan humor, and not to say that she won't become a Harley where people gravitate towards her, but I definitely don't see her, having a fun book written by the Harley team, in the next couple of years. So that's all. But so I think I like this addition, that Tynion's bringing to the Bat family.
Yeah. I was just not say I have a problem with certain characters becoming more heroic or whatever. Yeah. It's more just the reaction if we do a version of a story where they're villainous again. It's like it's fine.
Well, and James brought up too, in our Facebook group, that I guess in the Arkham games it's really the only straight villain version of Harley we've had in the last.
In terms of vicious evil villain, because in animated series she was there was moments of redemption and lightness, thrown in there. It was always, she was swayed into it, whereas the Arkham games are, no, she's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think Ivy's a better way to discuss, because Ivy, there definitely was a time when she was just a villain. Like, there was no redemption to her. It was, that's something that came...
not long ago either.
Yeah.
No.
So, that's what it is.
This week. She's an outright villain. So.
Okay, I didn't read that book, so I'll find out about it later. Next up, Red Hood Outlaw 46, Connor's favourite. Yeah. So
still not the finalist show. That's what you're laughing at. You're reading the next one too, mate.
Just the next one, though. Just the next one.
For now.
Yeah, man, they're going to Kurok, though, so I was,
next up, I guess. It's Shazam 13, and it's prime time, Matt. It's prime time. Can I just say how much I love that variant cover of the Shazam family?
Yep.
It's nice.
It's glorious.
That needs to be like, not that Shazam would ever get a.
Hold on a sec.
What?
There's only one artist.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, so that is.
My mic was going, so I stopped and did my mic thing because Connor's sweet.
Well, the good thing is that probably has reset it so that it won't happen now for at least like an hour.
Yeah. It was probably going to go soon anyway.
Yeah.
Anyways, not that Shazam would ever get like a Criterion collection, but if it was going to get one, that would be a nice cover for the Blu-ray.
Oh, sure, yeah, I got to say it. I was going to say, is this because Parasite just got announced to be getting a Criterion? He's like, nah, what Shazam, you get a Criterion.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like a super special edition, and it gets brand new artwork for the slipcase.
For anyone watching the video, if you can see my Universal Monster bust there, which came with like an old box set, those shelves underneath that are my Criterion
no one cares.
collection. Some people care.
They really do.
Some people care.
When was the last time you added one to that?
Last week.
That's been a while. That's been a while since I bought a Criterion. But that's because I've got the Criterion streaming service. It's less necessary to buy Criterion Blu-rays anymore. So, but yeah, so Shazam 13 is a thing, and that's actually been kind of consistently coming out. After that period of delays.
Since the delay of the delays.
Yeah, I think one's been pushed back a week, but that's not really that big a deal. It's been mostly hitting monthly. And Suicide Squad issue 6 by our Lord and Savior Tom Taylor coming out. The big news here is that Supergirl 42 is ending with issue 42 in May, and this sucks. I'm not, thrilled about this. My hope is that obviously it sucks because Jody Houser really just got started, and I really wanted her to have a nice long run.
Jody Houser only exists on this book to cover between writers.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not annoying because it happened last time as well.
Yeah, that's why you said that.
So, I know I was just clarifying for the audience who might not have got the reference, making people feel included. So this is my hope is that this is because they have plans for her somewhere, and not just because the book's just not selling enough, so it's just cancelled, and that's the last we're going to hear of her for ages. I'm hoping that it's because there's actually plans for her getting 5G, or there's plans for her and something. You know, if they're doing the thing where someone like takes over like the various books, like maybe she takes over Action or something, if Superman's disappearing for a while during like 5G, I don't know. Like I have no idea. I'm just speculating because I hope it's not because she's just disappearing for years.
Yeah, that'd suck. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even reading it, but I wouldn't want that. I know there are a lot of people who are enjoying this book, and it's no fun just to have your favorite character just vanish like that.
Well, especially because it's been more like the voice that Hauser brought. It feels like an amalgamation of all the Supergirls I enjoy, and the fact that we're only getting 6 issues of this,
something like that. Yeah, and then because I mean, there's other characters where like when Batwoman got cancelled. Not that I'm not as upset about that by any means because the book was only okay, but like since that got cancelled, she's basically just been someone who shows up for a page here or there in the background of Batman books. She doesn't really have a presence beyond that.
I bet there are Batwoman fans who are really disappointed by that.
Yeah, because at least all the other characters got outsiders. Cass is in there, and stuff like that where they get to shine.
Maybe she'll join up with Young Justice. We'll see her there. I mean, under Bendis.
Ultimately, I think it won't be too long because she does still have a TV show ongoing.
She
I don't
does.
think they'll leave it too long without having a book.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing here is that either they've got plans for the near future, which make more sense to just not have her book going on at the same time. Or the fact that 5G is coming and we're getting presumably a lot of new things with 5G. If there's some sort of plan to have her in that, then whatever. But hey, so that kind of sucks. But so her last issue is issue 42 on May 27th. So that is cool. Then we got Superman 23, Kevin Maguire on art, which I'm very excited about because he's been good.
He has a great cover. I'll give him that.
Connor, listen to this solicit.
Listen.
Oh, you want me? I thought Pete was going to read it.
Okay, I'll read it. Yeah, he said listen to this as if he was going to say it. All right, I'll say it. Yeah. With Superman's secret identity suddenly revealed to the world, many in his life are worried that he has been tricked or duped into destroying his own privacy. All the more worrisome is Superman has been very susceptible to mysticism. Could all this madness be magic related? It's time to call the Doctor. Dr. Fate.
It's fine because Pete's going to read the solicit for the next book, which made me enjoy it even more.
I'm not going to read the next one. No,
all right, you need to read the first sentence.
Jimmy Olsen number 11 is coming out. All right, fine.
Read the first sentence.
Hey, look, it's issue 11 of a 12-issue series, so it's a perfect jumping on point for new readers. Okay, so I'm using.
You silly guy.
I'm using, yes.
Yeah, I was like, yep, that's true to the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's still going. Teen Titans 42.
That's one of those books that, because we've not been reading it for so long, that I'm like, oh, that's still going. Wait, it's at 42? When did that happen?
It's worth mentioning as well, the writers changed at some point, because Robbie Thompson's writing this issue, and it's not the Glass dude who was on it before, so who knows what's happening. I'm looking at this cover, and I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Like, what is this?
I don't know, but we got another Archer, and we were being corrected that the Archer that shows up at the end of Young Justice last time was Arrowette.
It wasn't so much a correction of we just didn't know who it was and someone told us.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. There's too many sidekicks running around that we haven't seen in forever. That's all.
Sure. So Terrifics 28, still going. No final issue. So there you go.
Well, after this one, I might be jumping back in because I didn't get quite caught up. But I did read 25, so
I also read 25, so we'll talk about that.
I missed it, and I think once I get caught up by next month, it'll be back in the cover. I did not
read 25 because I do not like Choose Your Own Adventures.
Oh, so all the time I thought Pete was the one that hates fun. Turns out
I just don't like. I just want to be told a story.
Matt, Connor doesn't like Christmas. What more proof do you need?
It's true. Doesn't like Back to the Future either.
Yeah.
It's soulless.
I don't hate Back to the Future. I just don't love it as much as everyone else. I'm not saying it's bad. I've never said that. It's pretty good. I just
you like kicking puppies too?
Only if they're trying to bite me, I suppose.
Next up, Wonder Woman 757-758.
Orlando. If you're enjoying it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, so some of the regular artists are still there. Jesus Marino and Lupacino still doing art for this book, so that's nice.
Different people on variants, though.
Yeah, Young Justice issue 16, Michael Bryan Bendis, and David F. Walker's joining for this issue, who obviously was working on Naomi, so I wonder how Naomi focused this one might be.
Well, no, David F. Walker was on the last one, too. He got
was he?
a co-writing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was listed there. But this one focuses on Impulse, so this, as if I wasn't going to pick it up anyways.
Yeah, we're reading it anyway. But
yeah, it's definitely Impulse is one of my favorites. So
I suspect it more means that Bendis is busy and needs some help.
And I like David F. Walker, so...
Yeah, I mean, Bendis has done a bunch of books, so I mean, fine. Walker can help keep things going. Daphne Byrne issue 5, so that's 5 of 6. So we're sort of the Black Label books now. The final issue of Lolo Woods is out in May. Issue 4 of Plunge is out in May, which is actually all the Hill House books that are left. So with Lolo Woods finishing, it'll just be Daphne Byrne and Plunge, and then Daphne Byrne will finish the following month, and it'll just be Plunge for a month or two, and then hopefully we'll have some new announcements.
Yeah.
After that,
there might be that weird delay because they're waiting on. They're not announcing anything until it's finished, so there might be a little bit of a weird gap between them.
Yeah, and then I'll just
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll quickly run off the Sandman universe stuff, or the Sandman universe. Books of Magic 20, House of Whispers 21, John Constantine Hellblazer 7, The Last God 7, Lucifer 20, and that's all she wrote. There you go.
I feel like I have to say this every month, but Last God is not part of the Sandman universe.
It's in this that part of the section. I don't care. I do not give a shit. It's the section of books that I'm never going to read, so it's just this there.
You're missing out on some good stuff.
No. People always say that when they like something. I'm like, I know I don't like this magic shit. I know I'm going to hate most of this. Like, I'm not missing out. I'd be miserable if I tried reading most of it.
Oh man, I'm scrolling through these, and in June we're gonna have Justice League by Brad Meltzer Deluxe Edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that when I was looking through.
I'm gonna have to get that. That's my favorite era.
Yeah, I will say this: they're doing a lot of these facsimiles in Dollar Comics, right? And I feel like they're doing so many of them now that it's like if you were just sort of picking these up because they're a nice little novelty to get once or twice a month. I feel like they're now flooding you with them to the point where you're going to have to not get them all now.
I don't think there's anyone picking up all of them.
No,
it seems to be mostly people are picking them up to try a thing before they buy a trade.
Also, like I'm gonna since I never read the Draco Manhunter, I just know that he wrote that character. I'll definitely be picking up that one. The Dollar Comics.
I'll tell you what I like they're doing here. They're reprinting Alan Moore's Swamp Thing Absolute Volume 1 when they're putting out Volume 2 in June, and I think that's actually really smart. That's a really smart tactic to do that. So
the same price. So,
that's a really smart thing to do. So yeah, there's a bunch of new trades coming out of all the current series, which you'd expect. The third Batman by Grant Morrison omnibus is coming out. That's just all of the incorporated stuff, both chunks of it. So that's cool.
I've already got that pre-ordered.
That's all very neat. And then there's a new edition of Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison coming out.
That's a nice new cover.
I should get around to reading that.
All right, honestly, it's probably my favorite Grant Morrison story, Matt.
I know. It's also one of your favorite Batman stories. I have it. I just,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Of all the things that Matt's read, he hasn't read Arkham Asylum.
It's always escaped me. I never wanted to pay for the only version I could find in comic shops was the hardcover, and I don't want to spend that. Right now, I'm sure I could find a cheap.
Yeah, when they released the 15th anniversary edition, the paperback, that was pretty common to find.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're all excuses, right? I mean, I could read it. I have it digitally. It's sitting there. I could download it anytime I want to my tablet. But I'm reading Darth Vader right now.
And a relief to many people probably is that they're finally doing Justice League International Omnibus Volume 2, so that's not been left behind after Volume 1.
It's good.
So that's
interesting.
Cool.
They just started. They just restarted the trades of that as well.
Yeah,
because they did do like three or four trades before, and then they gave up.
Yeah,
and now they've just started again in the new format, I guess.
So we also have Justice League of America: The Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1 New Edition. I'm not sure why they're redoing that, but fine, I guess. I don't know if they finished that run. before.
It might just be it was out of print and they want to put it back into print.
Yeah, usually they say new print though. That says to me it's going to have a new trade dress. That's what that says to me.
Could be.
Legion of Superheroes 5 years later omnibus volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
Are you intrigued by that, Matt? That's
I have to go back and look because I think that was right after Supergirl left and right before the book ended. So I don't remember if I was reading that.
I mean, it's volume 1, so presumably there's going to be a volume 2 at least.
Yeah, I'm looking. Just the international.
And this is 1,400 pages, and it's only volume 1. Jesus.
Yeah,
That's a
I might be
steal at
thinking
only
of something else.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. Yeah, so that's cool. There's a bunch of other things in there.
Oh wow, a Being Super reprint too, which I might have to pick up
with new coloring dimensions as well. I noticed that when I was looking through
New
things.
colouring. Oh, okay.
It's only,
Not immediately
$70.
keen on that idea.
Where's this Legion? It's all alphabetical, right?
No, it's a little bit above that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Joe,
there it is. I see it.
Joe, it's weird. Is they're re-releasing Batman Wonder Woman the Hycatia Deluxe Edition, and this is such a weird thing to keep reprinting on its own to me because it's in the Greg Rucka collections, and I feel like it belongs kind of there, and it's just kind of weird, like because this is such a short story to go out and buy a deluxe of it on its own. It's just weird, but
a lot of the deluxes they have are like those short ones. They're just because it's the oversized art. That's the appeal of those. Not quite to the extreme of like an absolute, but bigger than a regular trade.
Yeah, I'd much rather if I was going to go for that oversized, I'd much rather have it in a Rucka omnibus than just that on its own. But I mean,
is there a Rucka omnibus yet?
No, there's those three thick trades. But they could easily put those three into an omnibus though at some point.
Yeah.
I think book one has the Hecate.
It does. It's like the first thing in it, I think.
Yeah. So I scroll down. I check out like the statues and figures, and I understand that the Batman adventures, are popular. Who the hell wants a Batman who laughs in that style?
Honestly, that was actually something that was in one of the articles that I was reading. That's the main reason that new Batman animated series book exists. That they wanted to have new designs of villains in that style. So we need a place for them to exist before we can just make a statue of them.
Son of a bitch.
So it feels a little bit cynical. I really like that Catwoman in the animated series.
Well, sure. I was talking garbage about Frank Cho earlier, and then I see the Poison Ivy statue, and
that Catwoman from Artgerm statue is gorgeous. Even the cat on the statue is perfect. The way it's looking up at her, it's just really nice. So that's Solicits. That's May Solicits. That's super exciting. We do have some other little news bits though, just to kind of sprinkle in here at the end. So the final 2 issues of Inferior 5, which were supposed to be obviously issue 5 and 6 of a 12-issue series, and then they got cut to 6 issues. Now the last 2 issues have been pushed back, aiming for March 25th and April 8th releases. So issue 5 was originally solicited for January 1st, so is now March 25th. So that's like almost 3 months of a delay for both those issues. So that's not a smooth sailing trip.
I suspect this is because they had to completely scrap what they had and rewrite an ending.
Yeah. The whole thing feels really messy though because of that. It feels like if you were enjoying this book, I mean, not many people are reading it, so there's not a lot of you, but if anyone was enjoying this book, this all has to be really, really bad news, really. Oh my god, it's going to be this mess of a thing trying to wrap up everything.
If anyone can pull it together, Giffen and Lemire can.
True, yeah. You got good creators to do it, but we'll see. So here's another one. So this is actually really funny, because we were joking about this being delayed past the movie coming out, and it's been delayed again. The one-shot, the Azzarello Birds of Prey Black Label one-shot, which was originally...
It's actually just a graphic novel at this point.
Which was originally an ongoing in the main continuity, and it was a mini-series in Black Label, and then became a one-shot in Black Label, which it still is. You're just sort of saying that because of the page count, really.
It's 96 pages. It's essentially a graphic novel at that point.
Yeah, so it's now been rescheduled for April 1st. It was supposed to be coming out in March from the previous release, and it's now coming out in April 1st. April Fool's Day. We'll see if it actually makes that date, now that it's been pushed back again. So
I hope it does. It's not something that we'll read for the show because it's so long, but I want to read it anyway.
Do you know what's funny? If they keep delaying it, there's actually a chance it can come out just before the Blu-ray and VOD release of the movie now at this point, because it's been delayed so much.
Yeah.
If it gets delayed one more month, it'll actually hit around the same time as the home release. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the thing. A couple of exclusive contract bits of news. Doc Shaner has renewed his exclusivity deal with DC for 3... Oh, no, that's a different article. Hold on, that's someone else. I'll get to that.
He's just said another couple of years, but he had a 2-year deal before, so it's probably another 2 years.
Probably another 2 years.
I mean, that is a couple, right? Two is a couple.
Yeah, 2 is a couple. And then, similarly, this is one that was 3 years. Jesus Marino, who's been doing Wonder Woman art, has signed a 3-year exclusive deal. Who renewed the deal, to be exact. So that's really cool, because I do like Marino's art. So that's fine. And then Mitch Gerrard's, likewise, to wrap up this exclusivity sort of chunk, he is signed for more exclusive for a few more years. Again, it's very vague, his one.
Yeah, he's another one who had a 2-year deal before, so it might just be a renewal of that.
Yeah, so, and obviously we like Mitch Gerrard, so that's awesome. And then the final bit is just back to another delay for a book that we're not really paying attention to too much, but once again, Doom Patrol Wait the World issue 7 has been pushed back. It is now going to be scheduled to March 25th at the current time of writing. So, yes.
That's another 2 weeks from when it was delayed last week, I think.
Yeah, it's a total of 8 weeks from the original release date, but it's another 2 weeks from the last delay, so... again, I hate how Newsarama phrases this in their titles. I'll keep complaining about this until they fix it.
Yeah. What I will say, I'll give them credit for though, is they do add the update, and so you can see the original story, and and so you can work out the additional bit yourself. They do. It's clickbaity in the headline, but the actual article is very transparent. So credit where it's due.
So there you go. That is all the solicits and news for the week. Obviously, that was quite mighty. I think before we move on, though, I did mention the new Batsuit. I think, we have to talk about DC movie news occasionally when something big comes up. And they did reveal a screen test for the new Batman suit, for Matt Reeves, the Batman. It was just a couple of seconds of Pattinson standing in the Batsuit. We don't get like a full look at it. We get a close-up of the chest. We get to see a little bit of the cowl. And that's pretty much it. It's bathed in red light. I've seen a lot of jokes saying that Daredevil season 4 looks really good. Because it is Red
Batman. It's like Mark Waid fulfilled the prophecy.
I have seen some color corrected ones without, taking out the red, and you can see it a bit clearer.
Oh, that's nice.
People that have seen it without the red have compared it to the gray type that we see. The two-tone meets the armor from the game, so it's paneled.
I hope it's got the grey, because I honestly, because in the red it doesn't look like it's two colours. It looks like it's just black, and I think at this point I want to see the grey and black, because we've had the all black suit a bunch of times now.
Yep.
And I feel it's more exciting. I will say,
if Reeves is going for a pulpy vibe, and judging from the casting list and what we've kind of heard rumblings of the story being, the grey suit would make that even better, right? It would hit that detective-y pulpy.
What I will say is that I don't really like the logo in the chest. It has no ears. I'm kind of not into that. I'm also not into the collar around the back of the neck. That really annoys me.
I'm not a big fan of the armor look. I never have been.
Do you know what? I'm okay with the armor look if it actually looks like practical armor. My problem with some of the previous Batsuits is that sometimes they look kind of like bulky and unmovable, whereas this looks a bit more like... I think the game comparison with the later Batman Arkham games is quite a good comparison.
I just want a costume, not an armor suit. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I don't want Superman to wear armor, but with Batman or Daredevil or any of these humans that are running around, armor makes sense.
I get it. So, why they're choosing it. I just, I'd like it.
Also,
well, you want spandex?
I want. It doesn't have to be spandex. I just want it to look like a costume, not armor. That's not that extreme.
Nah, it should be armor. I
want it to look like fabric, is what I'm saying.
I mean, look how crappy Cap's costume looks in the first Avengers compared to what we get later.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I understand that's the point of it, is it's supposed to look rah-rah, over the top. Yeah. But when you see where his costume goes in later movies, you're kind of like, well, this is... They found that balance. And... I
think there's an interesting thing in this one as well. That if you see it with the color corrected light, you can see the cowl is like stitched together, like it's really homemade. Yeah. It's like leather.
So it's an early days Batman story, then. That's what you're saying.
Probably, yeah.
It's Alfred.
I'm not really a big fan of the suit from what we've seen so far. If the movie's good, I don't really care. But
I mean, like it'd have to be especially horrendous for it to completely tank how I feel about the movie. If the movie's otherwise good.
My wife's like, why don't you... I haven't heard you talk about... I'm like, because I don't care. I don't get worked up over costumes anymore. because what's the point? It's kind of like getting worked up over casting until you see, a piece of it in play to see if it's been miscast or not. Because I remember getting stupidly upset over Heath Ledger, who was an actor I liked, but he can't play Joker. What would he? And then like the best Joker
you
portrayal.
feel like such a fool.
Exactly. So I don't get caught up in these. It was just like with Pattinson as Batman. It's like he could be fine. I don't know. And with the suit, it could look great outside of this light. It could look like suit tomorrow phrase.
I'm pointing out the things that I don't think I like about it based on what we've seen, but it's worth mentioning that like once we actually see it in action, see it in the lighting in a scene, all these various things, seeing how it's shot, like all these things can make it look much better than what it appears when you just get a quick glimpse of it like this.
I remember hammering the Affleck because it looked like Catman, not Batman with the small ears.
Honestly,
but then
that
when you
suit
see
is
it,
mostly really good, but if it just had some longer ears.
Yeah, but even in the movie, it didn't bother me that when you're looking at him head on, he still cuts the figure of Batman. It was just the angle at which, in the black and white, that first picture that came out, he looked like he was playing Catman. And,
What I will give this as well is Pattinson's got the jaw.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's more important than the rest of the suit. Mm-hmm. You can fix the rest of the suit.
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, you can fix the jaw if you punch it hard enough.
Sure, but you can easily change the rest of the suit for the next
I don't
movie.
know, man. Pattinson seems to be like he's seen some nights in a pub. That dude he's probably got a strong jaw. That's why it looks that way. He's
been in a pub brawl once or twice.
Well, I'm not saying he needs it to be fixed. I'm just saying if a different actor had
but that's what I mean. Like, maybe that's why he has the jaw to play Batman.
Oh, sure,
right?
yeah.
Like
it's hardened.
Stuff has happened.
Yeah, it's hardened. He's been hit a bunch of times, and it's there to go. Yeah.
But yeah, I just do we know who's playing Alfred in this one? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, we do. I don't have it in front of me though.
Ah, crap.
We didn't know it was in the cast list.
Because I know Jeffrey Wright's playing Gordon.
Yeah,
that's inside casting.
I just hope. Well, my wish would be that it'd be William Dafoe, and Bruce would come in from his night out of patrolling, and Alfred would be like, "You're finding me lobster." You're finding me lobster. He tries to make him eat his lobster.
Oh, God.
I can't wait for the scene where Batman catches Alfred masturbating at the top of the Wayne Manor.
Andy Serkis is playing Alfred.
Oh, there you go.
That's right.
He could do it. He could pull off a lobster speech.
Yeah, I could vision him in my head right now going, "You're finding my lobster."
he could pull that off.
I don't get this. I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Have you not seen The Lighthouse yet? No.
No,
okay.
I have not. So this makes so much more sense now with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
You're finding me lobster, aren't you? You're finding me lobster. You're finding me lobster.
You guys are making me not want to see it. So good job.
I think you'd hate the movie, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, that's fine. I enjoyed The Witch for what it was, but yeah, I don't know if The Lighthouse is for me.
Lobster's an experience, but do you know that on the top 50s, because I've gotten far enough now to say this, you're the only person out of the 5 who didn't have Under the Skin in the top 50.
Well, nobody should be surprised because I hated that film. That's not saying that it hasn't stuck with me, and I don't think about it at least once a week. However, I did not enjoy it. He thinks
about it more than the rest of us.
Yeah.
It haunts him. He wakes up in a cold sweat at night.
That's how Hereditary was. And then I saw Midsommar, I was like, oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Because if Midsommar, if parts of that don't haunt me, then why am I letting Hereditary get to me? But no, Under the Skin, still there. Seared. The ending of that movie, seared right here. I hate you for that, Pete.
You're welcome. New Batman images, blah blah blah, little clip. Here's the thing. All right, there we go. That's the news. That's the wrap up of the news. We shall start the books then with Batman Pennyworth, R.I.P. issue 1. This has got writing by James Tynion IV and Peter J. Tomasi, and then art by various is what I've written down because
art's all over the place.
There are many
in this.
Well, it has a structure where it's each of them telling different stories about Alfred, so each one has a different artist behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a credits page at the end with all of them?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that each style though fits that character. It just kind of felt like
whoever they had available.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about hodgepodge.
And I wish it would have, because like I don't feel like the art in the Batgirl story fits that story. Like, it feels too cartoony for such a not heart wrenching, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very nice emotional story.
I've just looked at the credits page at the end. So
Yeah.
we've got Eddie Barrows, Iba Ferreira, Chris Burnham, Marcio Takara, Diogenes Neves, David Lafente, and Sumit Kumar, who we obviously talked a lot about during the Solicits.
So, yeah, this is the thing. My reaction to this issue, the first time I tried to read it, is that I picked it up, and I looked at I read the first page, I got to the second page, and I got to, was it third page? I got to the bottom of the third page, and there was a panel with Rick Grayson in it, and I threw it down in disgust. It said, ugh, Rick Grayson's in my comic book, and I stopped reading it.
The worst bit is, though? If the narration wasn't telling me that was Rick Grayson, I would not have known from the art.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All the Robins look far too alike. The only reason that I know that it's Damian is because he's shorter than the rest.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Because
for some reason,
point, I thought I knew Tim left, but it looked like he was still there. I'm like, oh, no, that's stupid Rick Grayson. Yeah. Because they look identical.
It's because
you only know Jason because of the glasses.
Yeah, it's because Dick's hair was short and it's growing out, so it looks like Tim's. And for some reason, Jason has the weird round glasses.
Well, he's in disguise because Bruce isn't going to want him there, but he stays.
Yeah.
But he keeps the glasses on the whole time. So
yeah. So it sets up that the Batman gets like a B squad to sort of patrol the streets this night, because basically they knew that Alfred would want all the main Bat family to mourn his death. So you got Batwoman, Catwoman, Duke, and Cassandra. I will admit, it's kind of weird that Cassandra's not mourning Alfred. I feel like she would care.
Can I just say how ugly the art is on Duke in particular as he's swinging down there? What is going on with his body?
His chest, it looks like he's got a big belly. It looks like he's been eating a lot of cheeseburgers.
It does, doesn't it?
Judge him for that.
Till that Taco Bell.
Do you know what? Yesterday I got a couple of donuts and I was like, I've not had donuts in a while. I was really excited. And Matt looked at my photo of donuts and said, only 2?
No, to be fair, I've never eaten less than 5 donuts at a time.
At a time.
You got her.
There's no way in hell I should be taking food advice from either of you two. Jesus Christ.
If I'm buying a pack of donuts, they usually come in 5s or 6s. I'm going to eat the whole pack.
Yeah, you don't this is why we can't buy a dozen donuts in my house, because I will sit there and eat them. I'm you can't, they always say you got to watch how much food you give a dog because they'll just eat until, they shit themselves. I'm the same when it comes to donuts. If they're there and they're within reach, I don't have enough.
Exactly, which is why I only bought 2. I made sure I couldn't eat more than a reasonable amount.
I've bought one of those, like the trays of 12 donuts before. I've done that before. Stuck it on the table, and they did not last more than half an hour.
When they opened the first Dunkin' Donuts in my hometown, me and my brother went. This was 10, 11 years ago. And I remember looking at my dad going, 2 dozen donuts is not enough. And he looked at me like what? We're going to go through those. It's Dunkin'. Its reputation precedes you. So anyways, 2.
Yeah.
And you have a Tim Hortons. Come on, man! I don't even know what those donuts taste like, but they look delicious. You want to get 2?
Oh, they were nice. Well, next time I go, they've got this thing called Timbits, the little donut balls you get in either 10 or 20, varieties. Yep. I'm trying those next time.
At Dunkin', they're called Munchkins. Right? So, what's that, Connor?
So you got to get at least 3 boxes of those, though, right?
Well, you can get 10, 20, or 30. You tell me you get the 30. Is that what you're saying?
At least maybe 2 of those.
I could last you half
a night.
Do you really want me to go and spend over £10 on just donut balls?
Yes.
What's the problem? No, donuts are almost the near perfect food. I just, depending too, I don't want to say manufactured, but the chain ones I can eat more of if they're from a legit spot where they hand make them every day.
Yeah.
I can only eat a couple because just how sweet and greasy they are,
and they're dense.
It messes with me.
They're more dense as well. So of the 2 I got, one was just a chocolate donut, but the other one was maple dip donut.
Yeah, maple bars. Those are my jam.
So that was nice.
Yeah. Anyways,
we really don't care about this issue.
It's a Canadian trend. Well, no, I mean,
it took me multiple times to read this too, just because I get through a page and be like, I'm not caring.
Well, I like some of the issue. Like, I think there's some beats in here that I really like. But I think what really upsets me about this is that the Bat family's in such a weird place right now because of what's going on with Dick, that I got really angry that I couldn't have Dick Grayson react to this properly and be Dick Grayson about it.
To be fair, it's in a weird place for a lot of them. Like, Damien's off doing his own thing with the Titans and is kind of rebelling against.
Oh yeah, that's just adding to my point that they're in a weird place. Like, Dick's just the biggest example.
No, you said because of Dick. I just want to say, Dick's the worst, but they're all kind of out there.
But it emphasizes all these things, and like Dick kind of, or Rick, I should say, plays a big enough role in kind of the drama in the issue, and because of that, like I just like it was hard to kind of get into, and the actual stories that they tell about Alfred, for the most part, I was kind of into those. Not all of them, but
yeah, I really liked the one that Rick tells Bruce that he was sworn to secrecy, right, from Alfred about how he would go.
You mean Bruce told that Rick?
Is that what it? Yeah, I can't remember.
So Dick told
Bruce,
and then Bruce tells Rick.
Yes. So basically,
whatever.
So each one tells a story, but because Rick doesn't remember anything, Bruce tells him a story instead.
This could all be wiped out if they just got rid of Rick Grayson.
I know, but anyway, so the first one has because Damien runs out and goes on patrol when he's supposed to be grounded. Alfred comes and gets him dressed as Batman, so that he thinks it's his dad, and he's like, "What are you doing, Batman here?" And he's like, "Oh, Pennyworth, what are you doing?"
Yeah, let me back out. Well, no, if you go home, I won't tell your dad that you disobeyed. And it seemed to come from his earlier times, like when he was still killing people. Mm-hmm. So, Alfred already having that kind of relationship with him, I thought was really nice. He never really was a shit to Alfred.
No,
right?
No.
He was to everybody else. Like, he tried to kill Tim, but there was always a boundary there with Alfred.
Tim was taking his rightful place, though.
Yeah,
and I know. But
Alfred. Then in the Tim story, Alfred covered Tim's tracks back in Tim's early days by breaking into the GPCD as a proper trained thief, like Mission Impossible style, and stealing back his Robin batarangs and whatnot. What do you
razor R's?
Yeah, what do you call those R's?
And the bullet shots, shurikens.
Yeah, that's essentially what they are. Yeah, shurikens.
Yeah, he calls them his shurikens.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a nice enough little story. Obviously, Jason's was the one that I enjoyed the least, just because it's Jason.
Yeah, because I'm just like, they need to get control over which Jason they want, because this feels very much the Judd Winnick, DC's Punisher, Red Hood, and not the current, mystical adventures.
The only thing that in its benefit here is this is a story from before, so it could have been set during the Judd Winnick kind of time period.
No, and I get that, but I feel like that's not who he is right now. So, like,
yeah, but what I mean? This is set before, though, so I don't...
No, I understand that. But in this current continuity, it doesn't feel like he had that phase.
Well, okay.
Like, him and Bruce, you know what I mean? Him and Bruce have this weird thing, and it just never felt like Bruce would ever let him operate in Gotham this way. So for Alfred to come to his rescue the way that he does, it felt weird.
The part of the issue that I did like quite a bit, though, and the idea that it raises that I quite like, is when Barbara kind of confronts him and basically says, Alfred's always the one who pulled the family back together because you were never the one to reach out. And because he's gone now, you kind of have to do it, and deep down we all knew you wouldn't, and that's kind of the sadness here. But she also brings up this other interesting idea that I like in terms of what's going on with Batman as a whole right now, is that Batman Who Laughs and the Grim Knight and all these other various versions of Batman have been running around, even Thomas Wayne, have been running around Gotham City over the past year. And the idea of Batman is now terrifying to these people, but not in the way that you intended it. It's just this dirty thing that has all these negative connotations to it now.
It's become a negative symbol.
And I feel like there could be a great story here to come out of this where Batman kind of reclaims the city and sort of re-establishes what the Bat means to the city. Which could be exciting, and I hope to do something with that.
I wonder who wrote that story. If that was a Tomasi or if that was a.
With the amount of text, I was leaning towards Tynion.
I think it's Tynion.
Right?
Given the story in the main Batman book about rebuilding the city, I feel like it probably is Tynion.
Yeah, but she's even knocking down old parts of the city and rebuilding it by putting his name on it. That's not fixing things, Bruce. Like, you think it is, but you're not going
but that's referencing what Tynion's writing, though. So I think that leads to this being Tynion. Like to me that confirms that it's Tynion because it's what he's building towards.
Could be. But no, I like that sentiment there, and I like what she said about him after Bane and how that messed him up. You know, that you had this supervillain that came and took over the city, and you were out on vacation.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of left us on our own, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, you just went to the beach.
You know.
Yeah. And,
yeah.
and I like that because that's stuff that we were saying.
Yeah, Joe, I almost don't like it though because it's almost like. It's almost too on the nose that the writers go, oh, we know that everyone complained about that felt weird, and it almost felt just a little bit too like exactly what we were saying. It was validating, Pete, so I'm fine with it. Bit too on the nose for me, I think. And I agree that the art here doesn't really fit the story, but at the same time, I do actually quite like what the art is, though, just in a vacuum. I think the art's kind of...
So do I. The art's fine. It feels like it's more akin to one of the young adult style books, out of continuity.
I would read a Batgirl run with this art. I think this suits her.
I wouldn't read I don't think I'd read a Barbara Gordon thing with that. Maybe one of the young adult ones, but a proper run, Barbara Gordon, I feel like it is past that. I can see like maybe I
love the sentiment. Either way, yeah.
Yeah, her story anyway though is Alfred going rock climbing with her because
surprising her with it, right? So he basically makes like it's not an Easter egg hunt, but what is it? You know, she has to detect what's going on, and she's blindfolded, and she tells him, you know, well, we've been driving for this long in this direction, and so we're mountain climbing, aren't we?
So
they get there.
Yeah, they go rock climbing. It's for her birthday or whatever, or it's her anniversary of
her spinal surgery. And I was like, oh man,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
I laughed though because her outfit is going with the Power Rangers rules, where her regular clothes are the colors of her Batgirl outfit, and that really made me laugh.
Yeah, it's gray and purple, yellow.
Yeah. So and then she walks out. I will say I do like the reflection on the glasses she leaves as the Batgirl outfit. Even though she's in normal clothes, that was a nice little touch.
It's kind of weird because like Batgirl or Barbara has like my favorite and least favorite moments of art in this book. Like that image there is probably the best, but there's a page early on. It's like just after they get into the bar, after Rick jumps the bar and starts bartending, and it's looking down on her, and it looked like she was like it was framed as if she was still in the wheelchair. Like that was the sub, and it actually took me a second I had to double check. I was like, okay, have they just had her sat down or something? Because that's how it looked, and it was really weird.
But it's funny because I think this issue is a really mixed bag, and it's a shame because I think the things that I like about it, I really like about it. Like I like some of those ideas that Barbara was bringing up. I really like them setting these ideas up for the future, which is maybe a good thing because essentially what this is here to do is to set up some of the themes for the ongoing Batman detective books. I feel like Batman more so just because that one's, you know, there's a lot more stuff in here that feels like it's more directly related to like him rebuilding the city. And
I wonder if that though is just that we're not reading detectives, so we're not picking up.
I mean,
on
that's
what
true.
Those threads are.
Yeah, that's possible.
Could be true. But I really did like the Dick to Bruce to Rick story. You know, you can't call it Rick's story. And just what it meant for Alfred that he lost them too. It's not just Bruce. We never think about that Alfred also lost these people.
Yeah. So,
but instead of mourning their death, he celebrates their life on their wedding anniversary. And I was like, damn, that was touching. Yeah,
because obviously Batman always goes to Crime Alley on the anniversary of their death, but Alfred goes on the anniversary of their marriage to celebrate them on that day. And you know, Nightwing finds this out and eventually, you know, tells Batman this, and it's kind of this sweet, sweet moment. And you know, it's frustrating how like Dick being here or Rick being here for this really sullies the whole thing because we all just detest him so much, and he's this kind of like. And it'd be one
the
thing.
Whole time I'm only here because I feel like I should be. I don't actually give a shit.
Yeah, and the thing is though is that he's the last one to go. Having said that, it does kind of annoy me they all leave after they tell their story because it means by the time the last story is being told, no one's there to hear it except him.
And that's kind of a weird thing to do anyway. People don't do that.
Yeah, but anyway,
the other ones I understand leaving because they're upset with stuff that's going on, but like Barbara should have stayed. Like, I get that she's upset, but, like, for her to yell at Bruce, like, well, you have to be the one to pick it up, and now you're just going to leave him by himself to pick it up by himself?
Yeah.
It doesn't scream family, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Well, no, I mean, that's kind of the point, though, is that they're all kind of broken right now, but it makes the whole thing feel a bit very... Because I think the more satisfying of this... And it's one thing to say that, oh, maybe it's worth having the extra drama or whatever, but I think losing Alfred is drama enough, so we kind of want that to be a moment where they all kind of band together, but instead we're getting this where they're all kind of falling apart.
Right. I wanted to see them have a crying hug.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's absolutely what you want.
Honestly, like part of my problem with them leaving, I said, oh, it doesn't feel like family, and you just said, oh yeah, they're kind of broken. That's the point. It feels really hypocritical when they're all going, Bruce, you need to do better, and then all just leave. Like, well, you need to try as well. That was my point.
Yeah, that was my point with Babs, is especially her, because without Dick Grayson around, now she's the most senior member, right, of the kids. So she needs to be the one that's like, no, guys. Because that would have been Dick in normal circumstances.
I mean, no, it makes sense. Dick is last, and Dick is the most important. And we're obviously going to have Dick back properly in a very reasonably near future, I suspect. And that's all fine. But I think Rick's presence here really just puts a damper on the whole thing in a way that just kind of hurts. And I will say this, though. I will give it absolutely...
You laughed at this last page, didn't you?
I'll give it 1,000,000 points. I will bump the rating by like a whole point just for this last page, because there's a photo of the Bat family that are put up around Alfred. But out of all the characters that were, because not including Cass and the other ones that are considered, I guess, this next tier, and they're out in patrol, out of the main, which is the 4 Robins and Babs with Batman and Alfred, that's the main core of the Bat family, right? There's a photo of them all together at the end, except, notably, there's one absence. There's one person missing from this photo out of those main characters. And who could it be? There's no Jason Todd.
Right, because he is the black sheep of the family. So, yeah, like... And this feels like a very, impromptu photo, Yeah. Where they're like, no, come on, we need one with you, Alfred. And because he's at the center of it. Yeah. So I just want to know what the continuity is, because that's Bab's new costume, and we got Dick.
In
the blue.
Yeah, because she didn't have that costume until after he became Rick.
Right, and that should be her purple.
This is the sort of thing that is a mistake, but I'll forgive this, because when I was getting told off by Connor for ranting about all the continuity problems in Justice League 39, this is the sort of small thing I'll just let go, because whatever, I can see why this is something that's fallen through the cracks.
Oh yeah, me too. I just want to point it out.
This was not some asshole making a decision to make it worse.
No, it's something that an editor should have picked up on, and they didn't do their job well enough ultimately. But I mean, it doesn't ruin the moment.
And it's probably the best that Barrow's art. It's got to be Barrow's art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think Sumit Kumar is the guy that did the Grayson story. So if that's what we have to look forward to. In like, what's he doing, Man-Bat?
I can see that on Man-Bat.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot how bad that page of just before the Grayson story, how bad his face looks sitting across from Bruce. Like it's proper like goofy and like
the eyes aren't lined up.
Can I just say, I just want to add this out of the Rick Grayson stuff, because obviously we tear it to shreds every time it comes up. I don't necessarily think that there can't be a good version of the story where Dick has amnesia and we're doing it. The problem is the execution was terrible when they introduced it.
And it has been terrible.
And they gave it to, obviously a writer that we hate. And even though it's got Dan Jurgens now, and maybe he's a bit better, I assume he is because he's Dan Jurgens, but it was one of those things in comics where every so often they'll do something really detestable. Like Spider-Man Brand New Day or One More Day, whatever one was that the whole continuity changes that everyone hated, or stuff like that where like we just it becomes this thing where you can't even think about it without just being like, oh, why did they decide to do this? It's such bullshit. But hey, overall, I think there's some good things in the issue. It seems like it's worth reading for setting up the themes of where the main Bat book is going to be going over the next while. It feels like Tynion and Tomasi are setting up kind of their thesis. Like, okay, here's the sort of like theme we're going to explore with Batman as a character, and what he's going to have to kind of grow as over the next while. As an issue on its own, though, it does have a lot of problems. The art's very all over the place. The inclusion of some of the characters is kind of frustrating, and and even Barrows, who I've enjoyed his art at times. I think some of this issue does feel a bit rushed with his art.
Yeah.
So
because sometimes Barrows' art looks fine, other times like it looks like this and it's not good.
Yeah.
Like there's the real hit or miss in these in between. I will say though that the individual ones, so like you have the Chris Burnham on the Damian story.
Mm-hmm.
I feel all those pieces are fine. It's the in between art that I have the biggest problem with. Outside of the thematic stuff with Batgirl and whatnot, it's still the art's fine. Like Pete said, in a vacuum. I like that art, just not for that story. So, and that art was David LaFuente, because I just looked him up to see.
Yeah, I'm down for that art
what
on
else?
Other books in the future, just more suitable to.
The first thing that comes up when you image search it is a commission he did for Super Sons, and I feel like it fits.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Makes sense.
Really well. So.
I'd see that.
Yeah.
But hey, all right, I guess we're rating Batman or Pennyworth, sorry, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Matt.
I'm gonna give this a 7.5 because I did like the individual aspects of it, but as a whole, it doesn't really come together quite as well as I want it to.
Connor?
Yeah, I'm going a lot lower. I found this quite a disjointed mess that I didn't. I mean, there's a couple of nice things in there, but mostly I didn't really enjoy reading it. Art was all over the place. Individually, not necessarily bad. Some better than others, but so disjointed. And I feel I didn't get much from it. Like, if I'd skipped this, I would have been perfectly fine just reading the next issue of The Batman and not having missed anything.
Of The Batman.
Yes, exactly. So I'm giving it a 4.
Eek.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm going to give it. Let's see. So I hate the Rick Grayson stuff. So deduct some points for that. Add a point for that final page, which made me laugh out loud. And I do like some of the themes that it sets up. So I'm going to go with a 6.5 all in. So there we go. So that'll take us on to another one shot. This is Superman Heroes issue 1. Bryan Michael Bendis writing, Greg Rucka writing, Matt Fraction writing, and Jody Houser writing. And this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I assumed it was going to be a Supergirl story, and that'd be Houser's because of what the last Superman one shot with all these writers on it was. But there is no Supergirl story, so I actually have no idea which one she did.
Also, there's no Hauser listed in here.
Oh, there was originally. I guess maybe they.
Yeah,
maybe the.
She's not on.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
There's no Supergirl story.
That makes sense.
Maybe when they decided they're cancelling a book, they were like, "Well, you don't need to do anything in this."
Maybe she's still in the villains issue. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But regardless, so Scott Godlewski, Steve Lieber, Kevin Maguire, Mike Norton, and Mike Perkins on the various art in the book. So this is basically a bunch of different stories kind of on the fallout of Superman revealing his identity to the world. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I found some of this quite touching and some really interesting ideas.
A lot like the Pennyworth. A lot of it feels kind of disjointed. However, it fits because these are all reactions to something that happened more recently. Like it feels more tied in than even the Alfred stuff. And then especially the Pa Kent stuff. This is Pa Kent that I've been waiting for. For a very long time.
Honestly, the opening couple pages with the Kents when he's a kid, I honestly that's probably like some of my least favorite of the book, just because it felt like it was. Yeah, just I mean, it was fine. Like there was nothing wrong with it. It was just, but it ultimately. It didn't necessarily bring a lot of ideas to the table, but like when we go forward and we see like Lois, the big thing that the issue sets up is what Lois got in the box from Lex, right, from the Year of the Villain stuff, and it kind of like hints at what that is later on at the end of the issue, but it shows like Superman kind of go to the Hall of Justice and meet with the Justice League about what was happening here. It was interesting. There's a nice sort of collage of pages. There's a lot of humor from Mr. Terrific and Plastic Man. Of them, Plastic Man keeps trying to tell him a story, and Terrific keeps jumping in.
I do love that Plastic Man's ultimate thing is I fell for the glasses. Yeah, like it worked on me.
And he feels bad for that. Yeah,
Mr. Terrific's constantly trying to tell him, like, well, this is an experiment that you did, and like I want to look at the data and see how this all worked. And but no, there's a lot of good stuff in there, like Jessica, and then you remember that whole the Emerald Sun story that popped up in Green Lanterns. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a great moment.
Some of the reactions make a lot of sense though, because John Stewart's like, yeah, of course, I did this and you're right to do this. This is great news. And then Barry's like, oh, I support you, but I'm terrified. Like, I can do this.
Yeah. I like Zatanna's like, I could reverse this if you change your mind. Just keep that in mind.
And I'm assuming you love the booster couple pages here. So Booster Gold.
Spoiler: this might be my moment of the week, but him up in Machu Picchu.
Booster Gold climbs to the top of a mountain, and he checks his watch, and he's like, oh, 12:34. He's done it. And he just shouts out Clark Kent from the mountaintop, and Superman like zooms in. He's like, "Oh, is everything okay? I heard you calling on me." And he's like, "No, I just couldn't wait. I just had to talk to you because like you finally did it. You told everyone who you were." So
and he's like, and now I don't have to keep the secret because I'm terrible at keeping secrets. And we talk about this in the future, and Clark's like, "Wait, like I thought it's always hazy." And he's like, "Are you kidding? Every kid knows that Superman's Clark Kent. Like this is basic knowledge." And then just it's just a reaffirmation that, or if I'm using that right, that he did the right thing. Like, history will show this. And then, as much as I love that, this next part, I kind of love how this is the inverse of like that's Booster's so happy now that he doesn't have to keep the secret and what it means, and now Bruce and Diana are sitting here, in Wayne Manor.
So is this the because this looks like Perkins art to me?
Yeah, this has to be the Rucka stuff.
Yeah, which is interesting because there's no Lois.
No. And that's okay. I mean,
it's fine. Yeah, I mean. So basically, Bruce is like basically concerned, and Diana's over at the mansion having tea, and it gets to this point where Bruce like says that he's he tends not to be jealous of the others. He tends not to be jealous of the superpowers or whatever. But once in a while, he does get a little bit jealous of what Superman has. Of having the family, of having the happiness, and because Diana says, usually, despite the fact that he's Superman, you usually feel like you can do better than he does in almost anything.
And now, you can't top this. You can't tell people you're Bruce Wayne. Like, what would that mean? And I do like that he tries to turn this on himself he ends up turning it on himself, but when someone's speaking the truth, right? And that's usually coded for, they're hiding their selfishness behind a veneer of agency. And I feel that that's him in this, right? Like it's his jealousy here is why he's so mad. It has nothing to do with Clark's decision. It has the fact that he can't. And this is him speaking his truth on that. And Diana calls him out for it, which I do love their relationship. It's so different than Diana and Clark's.
Oh yeah,
is that here they can talk, and she's not going to judge him for this. And
and I like that it ends with her saying, maybe one day you can speak your truth. And he says, perhaps, but I won't hold my breath. And he's like, he knows that that's not him. Like deep down, it's just not him.
It won't be. And also a conversation of what the truth means with Wonder Woman. It's again why Rucka is one of my favorite writers at working. Is in this about Superman telling the truth of who he is. Of course, Wonder Woman has a lot to say about it. So that really worked. And then the next story I think is my favorite one in the whole issue. Is this with Superman and his teacher in Smallville?
Actually, yeah, I might agree with this. Actually, this is basically Superman coming back to his was it chemistry or physics, whatever the teacher taught, and he basically. He's here to say, okay, you know who I am now, and the teacher's like, I remember you in school, and you were this, troubled kid or whatever. And basically, Superman's here just to let him know that he never cheated. He has to let him know that he never X-rayed like answers. He never, used his powers for anything. He always played by the book when it came to his class. And I love that the guy's like, well, look, you got a C+. If you're going to cheat, you wouldn't get a C+. You earned that C+.
You earned it, and that's exactly who you are. You have earned everything you've ever set out to be, because that's who you are. And I just love that sentiment here. It's just really good, and it shows how, he remembered who he was, and he kept an eye on him as Clark Kent, when they were sharing all the stories, all he could think about was that, of course, Clark Kent turns out to be Superman. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yep.
And then he takes off.
Do you know what I love about this is I love how they dealt with the reveal in the main book, and even the main book this week, we'll get to that next, has some more cool stuff with this, but all the reactions and the way it's really, exploring all the things that would happen if Superman did this, if he revealed who he was to the world, like, I'm loving all the little ways that it's affecting, people in his life. And this story about this teacher who we don't really know, from anything, is a really good story. And then the next story I also really liked is this idea that Lois has had to set up a warehouse and like several workers to deal with all the mail that is now coming to Superman. And then the little twist here at the end, because it's just a little 1-page story, well, 2 pages including the letter writing page, where Superman's like, okay, so like all these letters are people writing to me, and she's like, look closer, and they're all addressed to her. And he's like, oh, that was presumptuous of me. Yes, it was. Yours are next door. And the final panel is just these 2 big giant like 18-wheelers that have been full of letters.
It's pretty great. See, that's another. I think that's a Rucka one too, because that's Perkins art.
Yeah, I assumed this was Rucka because it was Lois focused.
Yeah.
Even though he's there still. So I really like all these little ideas of like, the idea that people will be sending him all this mail, and even the fact that it's split into like 3 piles. The ones who are just doing thank you, there's the ones who are like have hopes that they want him to help with, and then there's the hate mail, which is all the conspiracy theory ones of like, this is fake and blah blah and so on. So that's really good. I have to admit, I wasn't super into the Jimmy story because I felt like it kind of weirdly went against what was in the main book with Jimmy when he found out. I don't know how you felt about this, Matt.
But no, I think he's checking just to make sure that, Jimmy's not upset with him for lying to him after being buds for all this whole time. That's how I read it, is that's what he's checking with him. That's why he asked him if he's okay. And it's just, Jimmy has this thing where he seems like he's angry, and he's just hand-waving everything, but he's still working as they're talking.
Yeah, I guess for me, like, this was the one that maybe felt redundant because I felt like they handled Jimmy so well in the main book. That moment where he tells him early because he's Jimmy, but he finds out that Lois already told him that morning. Like, I thought that was perfect. So I guess this just felt kind of unnecessary to me. But I mean, it's only a few pages, so whatever.
But I like that Jimmy put it together because, like, I got it over on some of the best investigative journalists and people in the world. How'd you know? He's like, well, there's only 2 people that call me Jim, and Clark Kent's one of them, and Superman's the other. Kind of easy to figure out. And so then he realized it wasn't 2 people. It was only the one. And so, and he's actually busy at work, so Perry doesn't eat his face off. So I liked all that.
Yeah,
and then
so the final story is basically wrapping up the tease of the box that she got from Lex Luthor, and it's basically news from Lex about who the invisible mafia leader is.
Right, that's Luen.
Luen
is the head of that,
and she now
if they
owns,
can publish it, because of the Daily Planet.
If she now owns the Daily Planet, and because of that, they know that if they do this, if they publish this and tell the truth, it will alter the lives of everyone they know, of everyone they care about, because all of a sudden the Daily Planet's going to be embroiled in this controversy, and this will potentially ruin Jimmy's life, Perry's life, their professional lives, like all these different things. So, and this is something where Lex knew this would upset her, and
that each of those gifts came with a string attached. And I'm glad that we waited this long, because remember when they resolicited those issues? They came out around when Year in the Villain was starting. I remember that Lois cover. I'm wondering if this was the original plan or if this is something Bendis has just added.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I feel like the whole Year of the Villain gift thing was just something that we're doing for everything, and I feel like Bendis has taken some time to think about what that gift might be, and now came up with this. And this is, the idea that Lex wants to kind of ruin their lives with this is very interesting. And ending, because the last page is just a Superman saying Lex Luthor when he realizes that Lex is kind of behind this and wanting to ruin their lives, and it says to be continued in Superman Villains. So the villains issue is clearly going to be, I assume, Lex and the other villains' reaction to this news. We're going to get the other side of it, where we're going to see Lex and maybe I don't know if Zod will find out some way because he's not really on Earth, but
yeah, but I don't think that Zod cares about that.
Probably not, but
he's always he's always known that he's blended in. But we're
going to see reactions of the villains and what they're plotting and how they sort of deal with this news, I assume, in the villains issue. So and maybe we'll get Superman showing up at the end of it to confront Lex about this, but we'll see. If only it wasn't Apex Lex during all this bollocks, that'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
But I actually really liked this issue for the most part. I mean,
Me too.
Not every story was as good as the other one, but like there was a 2 or 3 in here that I really liked. And I liked how it's playing with the ideas of how would this affect their lives if people knew who he was.
Right.
So
and we're gonna get more of that fallout in coming, throughout the issues, because we do see it when we talk about Superman.
The main book. But so no, I really like the teacher story. I love the letters stuff. So really good. So Matt, what are you giving Superman Heroes issue 1?
I'm giving this one an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that and give it an 8.5 as well. So there you go. Superman Heroes issue 1. Which will take us on to Superman issue 20. I have to check what number it was.
There you go.
Bryan Michael Bendis writing, Ivan Reis on the art. Just bear with us, Carter. We'll be done soon.
This will be quick because it was a speedier read despite being Bendis, because there's a lot of double page action stuff.
Yeah. So basically,
even when there's a lot of dialogue on these it reads so quick.
Yeah,
it's so punchy.
It falls into 2 stories essentially. There's the fight with Mongol at the unification, leaders on the other planet, and then it's actually a scene in the Daily Star, basically with a debate brewing amongst the writers, talking about how the Daily Planet's got this unfair advantage because Clark Kent is Superman and he works at the Daily Planet. He has all these first-person stories. Like he's already there for the news. This is unethical, and you've got this guy complaining constantly about it. And what's really fun about it is that we get to the idea that some people are sticking up for Superman. They're saying no, he's good. He's never been someone who's done something malicious or unethical. And she brings up this point where, hey, remember this him catching this plane? I got the story on that, and by the time I started writing it, he had time to write the whole thing, but it didn't it didn't get published or didn't even get brought up in a editorial sort of way until me. So it's like, no, he chooses not to actually use all of these encounters for news stories. Like he does that. So but then it does this thing where someone sends them a link, and it's actually, and this is interesting because I remember thinking at the time when Superman was at the gallery of all these leaders, and this was when he was with John, and they set up the unification thing, and Superman said, "I will speak in for Earth in these matters." And I remember thinking when he said that I was like, yeah, people on Earth would probably hate if they heard him say that because it's a little bit, I am their leader, I will speak for them. And sure enough, the reaction from this newsroom, which I like that it's not a Daily Planet, I like that it's this other newsroom that's characters who don't know him personally, or is this mix of things like, oh, speak for Earth, what does he think he is, like our leader? And
he's an alien himself, like who's he to speak for us? And then I'm like, and I'm reading that knowing Superman's history and going, well, of course he's going to speak. He's the best of you. You don't want to trust anybody else to do that. Like, you guys would vote Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah.
Humans make very bad decisions.
Yeah,
so,
and they're basically saying like, well, I mean, he was sort of on the spur of the moment. He didn't have much of a choice. Some people are saying this sounds like a good idea, and then the guy who's been sort of against him the whole issue is like, well, no, I mean, if someone's going to speak for Earth, in some sort of council of planets, I want it to be a human because we're mostly humans, like. So it brings up this kind of interesting debate, and then the big reveal at the end is that the person who's going to go and speak to him is someone who works there, and we reveal that Lana Lang is working at the Daily Star with a short haircut. She's got like a bobble.
Shorter haircut, and she knew Clark was Superman, right? Like, it's been so long since I've seen Lana.
This is the weird thing here. Her dialogue here implies she didn't, and I'm going to assume it's just because she's speaking to these people and she doesn't want to know that she already knew. But she definitely already knew. Lana's known previously.
Right. So there's that, and there's the last time I remember seeing her was in the pages of her own book where she was running some type of lab, right, with Steel.
I mean, I think the pages at the end, she was teaming up with Supergirl to take on the villains from Supergirl's old run. So that was the big reveal of the news stuff, and then the Mongol fight. Superman's fighting Mongol, and the leaders are like, the Tamarin leaders like trying to like encourage everyone to help Superman fight, But Mongol ends up killing a bunch of them, and it's super.
Mongol takes out the Dominators.
Yeah,
like they swarm him. They look like they have the upper hand.
Yeah, there's a panel where you see a Dominator on fire. It's like that scene in Terminator 2 when the playground's burning. It's actually really dark.
Yeah. And then Tamarin calls in these, a strike force, and Superman gets caught in the crossfire. And I like a lot of what Superman's talking about here. He's like, I haven't slept. Technically I don't need to sleep, but I do try to sleep. But when I'm on lack of sleep, I'm more susceptible to being knocked out.
This is the opening because at the end of the last issue, Mongol had him down and he was holding him, and that was the cliffhanger. At the start of this issue, it reveals that he basically is woken up because Mongol's dragging him by his face, and that's
right.
Yeah,
and all this other stuff that he does stand a chance, but he needs them to stand together with him. And Mongol kind of just wipes the floor with all these people, and I feel like this is going to show why we need a united planet.
Yeah,
so they're going to need to work together.
I do like how maniacally smiling Mongol is as he's doing this. He's having a great old time as he's doing this.
He's a warlord, and this is what he does. And there's some really great stuff. And then it got me thinking, I'm like, man, Mongol just feels like Thanos. Like, who predates each other? Well, Thanos came in the 70s, created by Jim Starlin. And Mongol came in 1980, also created by Jim Starlin, but with Luen. So I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So like you say, the cliffhanger here is all the ships that they've called in to help. Because during the issue they're kind of debating if they should just run and just screw this United Federation of Planets idea. And that's Star Trek terminology. I can't remember what they were calling it. Unification of planets, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's United Planets.
Okay, so it's all the ships. So it's basically, even though Superman's kind of caught in the crossfire, it's actually kind of an uplifting ending because they're still kind of banding together to take on Mongols. So it's kind of hopeful. But the actual last scene of the book is that Lois is like, okay, I'm going to go for a snack. I've been writing this book, and she puts on a blonde wig to go for food, and she opens the door. And it's a reporter from the Daily Star.
Snow.
Yeah, the blonde woman who was kind of sticking up for him. And she's got a cameraman, and she's got a mic in Lois's face. And she's like, oh, who declared Superman the king of the world?
Who made your husband king of Earth?
Yeah. And she's like, the king of what now? And she just looks... And what I love about it is she looks really confused, but she's also got this blonde wig on, so she looks especially weird at the ending of this.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like this because I love the debate in the newsroom of how other people that are outside, because at Daily Planet, everyone there knows him, so they're kind of close to him. This is like seeing this more objective, like this is like just a random newsroom on Earth reacting to it is really fun.
This is so close to a Daily Planet book I've always wanted. That's just them in the newsroom talking about news and how to deal with it. So, but it just happened to be the Daily Star, which is always the number 2. Like I know that Clark in different Origins, that's who he worked for first. Yeah. Before he could break through into the planet. So I like that Bendis is bringing that back around. Like,
that's very nice. And then even the idea that it's flying into Lois's life now, that there's reporters hounding her, is like, oh, here's more effects of what's happening now that everyone knows. So, real good stuff. Real good stuff. It's so funny how it flipped from action being the better book now to Superman clearly being the better.
I know. I was thinking that as I was reading this, and it just feels, you can tell where Bendis is putting his energy.
And it's not like it's not just because action got bad because of JRJR. Like even if action was still solid, this would still be better right now.
It was trailing off. Like once we got done with the United Planet stuff in Superman, you could tell that's where the focus went to. Right? Like we had John and his story, and that was good, but it wasn't at the same level of the stuff we were reading in action. And now this is taking precedent, and action's kind of on the back burner. And I'm sure they'll switch back.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll flip back and forth. Yeah. Depending where we are on the stories. But no, this is really good. I mean, obviously, Ivan Reis on the art is solid as ever, doing what he does. I think the stuff in the newsroom is just fine. I think the fighting with Mongol and all the destruction, like the killing the Dominators, I think that stuff looks especially great. I think Ivan Reis is one of the artists who benefits more from the actual superheroics than he does from the actual drama of people just talking to each other. Because there's some artists that are the opposite, where they're really good at people talking to each other and the facial expressions, but the action is not as good. Ivan Reis is definitely an action artist first, and then the talking drama second, but
and his Mongol give me his flashbacks to his Green Lantern work.
Sure.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Like his Mongol just looks great, and he looks like a force of nature here. Like I'm like, how's Superman gonna stop him? So it's really good.
Yep. What are you giving it?
Let me give this an 8.5 as well.
Do you know, I'm really tempted to try and give it the 9, but I think I agree with 8.5 again. I think it's just on the verge of amazing. It's really, really great, but not quite at the amazing level. So I'm going to go with 8.5 as well. That'll take us on to The Flash, issue 888. This is Joshua Williamson writing with Howard Porter on the art. So Howard Porter back, did a Flash book.
Not enough to tempt Matt back, though, right?
Matt didn't read this?
Nope.
No?
I did not. I told you guys I was done.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
believe
but I only like half believed you.
Yeah, I didn't believe you.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
Well,
be
now
honest.
you fully believe me. I did not read this, and you know what? It felt great.
Oh, I'm sure.
I didn't get annoyed. It was a fun day reading comics.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the weird thing about this is that this is probably the best issue in a while because it is kind of a start of a new thing and isn't connected to a lot of. I mean, there's some references to Flash Year One, which obviously made me go, ugh, but
It's the best issue in a while, but I still don't like it.
I mean that's fair. I mean, it's a prelude to Flash Age, and it's the introduction of Paradox. So presumably is going to be the villain, in Flash Age, and it's this guy who on the night Barry got his powers, he also was affected by the lightning because he has his own lab and he's doing his own studies and he's got a family, and eventually he basically has this weird multiversal kind of like moment where he sees all the planets at the same time and he's affected differently. And then when he sees the Flash in action soon, he witnesses Flash, he's in the crowd watching Flash fight Turtle. He ends up having this moment, and he travels to this sort of in-between place, this interdimensional place, and he drags a few civilians along with him, not intentionally, just kind of like
I'm pretty sure this is the place we've seen before. I want to say it was in the New 52. There was a place between dimensions that a bunch of people got stranded, and Barry had to rescue them.
Yeah, you may be right.
Does that sound familiar at all?
I vaguely remember that. Was that not like the Speed Force though? Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a long time since I read that early New 52 stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember either exactly, but it reminded me a lot of.
Wait, what? That was under Manipul and Buccellato.
Yeah.
Where they got stuck into the Speed Force, and then they all came out and they had powers.
Yeah, that was a Speed Force. Yeah.
Yeah, but it visually reminded me a lot of that.
Sure.
Gotcha.
So he's there for a long time, and he's not really aging the way he's supposed to. Do you know what it reminded me of a little bit? It reminded me of Doctor Doom in the new Fantastic Four movie, the way he's stranded on that that planet, and then eventually he's got the cloak because this guy ends up with a red cloak and a hood. So it's not the green cloak, but it's very similar, and he looks all kind of deformed. Like
I don't know quite how he gets it into a cloak because it starts off as just like a hoodie, right?
Yes.
And then it looks like a regular hoodie, and then as soon as they're in this, this other place, it's longer, and then it gets tattered as it goes on. It looks like a completely different material by the end. I'm like, what's going on with this thing?
Matt, I think your mic's going. I just heard a sort of click.
Gotcha.
Oh. Don't say gotcha.
Damn it.
Gotcha.
You could have gotten away there without anyone ever hearing it. Anyway, so he's trying to find a way back home. He's building things in this other dimension, and the people are all getting sick except him because because unlike him, they don't have the extra thing he had because he was affected by the chemicals and lightning on the night of the.
That was actually really interesting because in theory, because he was looking into time streams and different different timelines, and it was when the lightning hit Barry and the Speed Force was born, his equipment flared up because it was like, hey, we're reading something, and then that affected him. It wasn't like chemicals or anything like that.
What we find out later on is that basically every time the Flash alters the timeline, he gets more powerful because paradoxes fuel him. Right, that's kind of
This sounds like Zoom all over again, where he doesn't move through the Speed Force; he moves through time. So he's not.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a page where he's built his little tower, and we see various Flash events happening in the sky and the ripples of the time stream. Stuff we kind of recognize from various stories. And he eventually manages to get back into the real world, to get back to see his family. But by this point, he looks so deformed from being in this other place that his wife and kids don't recognize him, think he's a monster. And
they've moved on.
Yeah, they've moved on. And he does. He looks like Damage almost with a red cape at this point.
That's a pretty good description.
Yeah. So he ends up going to the future, and Thawne shows up with the
Of course he does.
with the what do we
And
call
he's
them?
like, well, I guess I need my rogues, so here's my first one.
Yeah. So this is when Thawne's trying to be, the Flash of the future. This is when he's trying to be the good guy, right? And we find out at the end. So he's telling this. So basically, the narration is this guy's saying his story to someone the whole book, and the final couple pages reveal that he's actually telling the story to Godspeed. He's got Godspeed, because he wants to use him. He wants to.
Yeah, this is what we got a tease of a long time ago now, right? Because this was before year one. Is this during the Flash War stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. But he says, now that the Flash's connection to the Speed Force has been supercharged, it's time for the Flash to pay for what he's done to the time stream. So this is basically kind of like the idea that, like, for every time Barry or Wally have messed with the time stream because they've altered things, like, this is payback's coming. Like, something's actually going to, like, try and hold them accountable for it.
Yeah. See, I think that could be a nice idea, but fundamentally, every time the time stream changes, it's not shown to be a bad thing necessarily in this universe, right? They're doing the right thing usually.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're punishing him just because.
Yeah, but he's a villain.
Well, no. Yeah, he's been warped by it. This is classic Flash villain 101.
No, sure. I think the problem is, if you put this on the Flash TV show, and against that Barry, hell yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because he's terrible. He's everything he's done is out of petty, selfish reasons that, And to be fair, Flashpoint happened because he was selfish. So
yeah,
sure, yeah.
So yeah, he has guilty at least one,
one
of them.
One big one.
So I think it's an interesting concept. I think I like this issue more than recent because even though it did sort of reference year one a little bit because of what was happening with Turtle, I did actually just really like that it focused on this one new character who was narrating his own story, and it was just him sort of talking about who his family is and what he is and what he's doing and telling his story, and it's very focused. And because of that focus, it felt like the classic issue of the villain introduction issue where we get his backstory and it sets up who he is so that when he pops up properly in the story in the main sort of arc, that we understand who he is. And I thought, as that type of issue, it did okay.
I agree with everything you said there. My problem is he's just not that interesting.
I mean, that's fair. That's a separate thing almost, right? That's like a separate thing. I think, from a craft point of view, I think this issue is fine. This issue is perfectly fine craft-wise. And I think the idea is perfectly fine. I'm not sure necessarily how I feel about the Godspeed inclusion there. I'll need to see what to do with that going forward. But it's definitely the best the book has been, and probably since just after Flash War.
I mean, yeah. Maybe.
No, I mean, definitely.
I might have enjoyed some issues around the other forces more than this.
Oh, that's fair, yeah. But I'm thinking I'm just thinking the last few arcs, which have been year one, and then the year of the villain, sets and colds.
What was the 4-year one? Was that the other forces?
that was the forces.
Yeah, because that went on for a while. Yeah, that was
that one, and then because the what was his name, the monk guy, Steadfast.
Mm-hmm.
Told Barry, you have to remember this bullshit origin that nobody's gonna like. And then it jumped to and then it caught back up with the resolution.
Yeah.
And then we were hinted someone from the future that looked like they were in anti-monitor armor.
Yeah, so
there's so many threads Williamson has that I care much more about than something like this.
I guess the whole reason why it has to remember that origin is because the fact that also related to the creation of Paradox is going to be relevant in the future.
Yep. And it feels, and unless it wipes out that year one, that's the only benefit I can see from this.
Would be very surprised if they did that already.
Oh, I'm ready to be surprised, Connor. I want to enjoy Flash again. And nothing against Williamson. I always feel like you might get some shitty people that go, hey, look what they're saying about you. And I always want to reiterate, I like most of what I've read from Williamson. I feel fatigued by his Flash right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm digging Batman Superman. I'm proper digging that book.
I'm so excited for Nailbiter to come back.
I do hope there's not people tagging creators
Yeah.
No,
with our review.
I always hate that. It actually really pisses me off, and it's happened to me a couple of times where I will I either have said something already just on my own, because I think it's fine to like have negative opinions on Twitter. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If creators want to find people talking shit about them, they can find it if they want to. But like, and then someone will respond and tag a creator in the response, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, you're intentionally making the person find this to give them a shitty day. Like, what are you doing?"
I always think about that. Like, someone like there's other writers that I don't care if they know how I feel. Like, that's fine. But someone like Williamson, I genuinely like. It's rough times right now.
If you tag a creator and ask me what I think of the book when you know I don't like it, I'm not going to answer the tweet. Like, I'm just going to ignore it because I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
I would never tag a creator with a negative opinion ever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never.
I don't even tag them when it's a positive opinion. I just put my thoughts out there, and if it gets to them, awesome.
I sometimes tag with a positive opinion because I mean, they can ignore it. A lot of them will just not look at those notifications on Twitter at all if they don't want to, and that's fair enough. But I mean, if it is positive, they're not going to be annoyed by it.
That's not true. If they're up, like I've tagged like the Bensons when I enjoyed Green Arrow when they took it over.
Yeah,
I did tag them, or Hauser. I've tagged, but I feel like it's
just
not that I have a lot of followers.
Think about it in a real world sense. If you saw a creator in a shop, right? Yep. And you thought, oh, should I go up and say hi? I'm like, well, did you like their book? Are you going to go up and say, hey, I liked your book? Would you ever actually go up and say, hey, I hated your book, your writing's terrible, and just walk off? No, you wouldn't. At least most people wouldn't. Maybe someone...
There are definitely some people who would, and those people are
they
terrible.
would. Yeah. And it's like, I've never, as many times I've seen Rob Liefeld at my local con, I've never once gone up to him, because I don't...
Just ignore him.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even ignore him. Like, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but... I
guarantee you though that the number of people who would do it to their face is much less than what would do it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Much less.
Well, there's that saying that social media has got it that people forget what human interaction's like, and how you act on the internet is not necessarily how you act. I have a friend that he's keyboard muscles, but in person he is very acerbic and he'll tell you what he thinks, but he doesn't go nearly as hard as he does on the internet. So, yeah.
So
yeah. What are your ratings on Flash, guys?
Yeah, Flash. Well, Matt wants to keep things moving, apparently. So... I'll give this a 6. It was fine. This was better than what it has been. Yeah, it's fine.
Sure. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I think it's, like you say, it's fine. It's okay. It does its job. From a craft perspective, it does, but I don't really like the stuff with the character that it is doing, so that kind of drags it down a bit. I'll bump it back up a touch because I think the art's pretty solid. It's nice to have some good art on the book. Or not, that's not fair. Sandoval's art wasn't bad. It was just not fitting for this book. But this is, more appropriate. So I'm going to go 5.5.
Cool. So we'll go on. It's Supergirl, issue 39. Jody Houser writing with Rachael Stott on the art. Unfortunately, there's only 3 issues left as of Solicits news today.
It definitely feels like a middle chapter. It definitely...
Sure.
It seemed to lack some of the urgency I don't say urgency. Some of that pop that it had in the first 2 issues. It's still a very good issue. It just feels like a middling chapter.
I like the faceless like government, like military sort of like boardroom that are deciding, hey, there's something claiming to be Supergirl that's taken over Smallville. We have to decide what to do about it. Most of the issue, to be honest, is a really quick read because it was mostly a fight scene with, the last issue ended with Wonder Woman with the lasso around Supergirl, and Supergirl kind of went blonde again. She seems like she's kind of becoming her, but she breaks out of the lasso and becomes, what we've had.
And she still has that, no, I'm a hero, I'm trying to help everybody, and she goes, there's a barn on fire, and Supergirl leaves the fight with Wonder Woman to go rescue the people in the barn. But she also, there's the caveat, she's like, well, if you just take the dark metal and take the infection, it'll save all of you. Yeah. And you're like, oh, she really is twisted. Like, I like that little story point.
I'm sure I said this before, but last time, I think the faces of Stott's art isn't necessarily always to my liking, but I think the action layouts and the way the action flows through the pages is phenomenal. Like, this was such an easy read because it just everything flowed during the fighting, and most of it is fighting and her like flying around and diving into things and saving people in the barn and all that. Like, all of that flowed so goddamn well. I'm game for Rachael Stott art now at this point. But honestly, my only critique, other than maybe sometimes the faces not being my kind of style, is that there's a one point where she holds up like the beam at the top of the barn so it won't collapse, and I thought that her head was actually in between the break and the beam because of the way it was drawn, because she's underneath it holding it up, but the sort of the camera, if you will, is like above it, so it looked like she had her head in between the two beams, and it looked really funny to me. It's a minor complaint, but it was just at first glance that's what it looked like to me. But this robot shows up that's got kryptonite, and it presumably sent by the military to fight her. And what's weird is that the kryptonite has a bit of an adverse effect, and the cliffhanger at the end of the issue is that we get a more super Batman Who Laughs version where spikes come out of her costume, the hair like covers her face almost like the Ring, or
full. She was like half black metal at that point. Yeah, she's full black metal at the end of this. The spikes have gotten longer.
Yeah, the cape's got a pointy sort of collar on it now, and she's got the big teeth, the grinning Batman Who Laughs teeth.
And so my take was this: is that because the Batman Who Laughs battering, or the dark metal battering, was meant for Superman, she was being able to fight it, but when she got hit with the kryptonite,
it weakened her.
It weakened her enough that now we're getting the full, dark multiverse infection of Supergirl. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of good read. Yeah. But what I mean by it feels like a middle chapter is a lot of action, and I don't want to say not much substance because there's stuff there. Like, I liked when the kid looks up at her, like, no, she's insane. Like, yeah, she helped us, but what does this mean? Like, she saved us, but at what cost?
Yeah, I will say I'm glad that at least the last couple issues are going to be Supergirl without this infection, just so that she has like a proper ending under Hauser. But I thought this issue flowed really well. It was fun. Wonder Woman tried to talk her out of it. All that stuff really worked. It's a blast. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give it 7.5.
So I'll give it an 8. I'll give it the feeling. I think it flowed so well for me that I'm happy to give it it. So that'll take us on to Batman The Outsiders issue 10. Bryan Eberhill writing with Dexter Soy on the art. Is this another one Cora didn't read?
Yeah, I had a light week this week. You did. I think all the books that you guys read have really stacked up.
Yeah,
I think that extra Superman one shot probably didn't help.
Yeah,
but I've got like 2 books that Pete didn't read.
Yeah, it's been really lopsided. But anyway, so Batman The Outsiders, a book which I have steadily been growing more and more fond of, largely because I think Dexter Soy's art's amazing, but I think Bryan Hill's story is really coming together. And much like Supergirl, the art flows so well in this, in the way it's building up these characters. And Batman.
I said this. I said this on Twitter that Bryan Hill, the way he writes these characters, it feels like a pre-Flashpoint era, right? That these are all lower level characters, so it feels like the stakes for them, like they don't have to do certain things. This doesn't have to tie into everything. So Hill can just write the story that he wants. And I don't know if this is a nostalgia thing or what, but while the book always isn't the best, I enjoy reading it. I look forward to it. It's one of the first things I read every month when it comes out.
Yeah, it's a super cozy read. Like, I find it very comforting to read this book. And so Batman's with is it Sophia, who's like wrecking stuff at the start of the issue.
Yeah, she's angry.
Yeah. And he's trying to convince her that she can be, what she needs to be, and not be like the angry like slave to like what Raz tried to make her and all the rest of it. More interesting for me though is like the others, like Duke and Cassandra and Katana are kind of like debating like what to do about Black Lightning and say what's going on. And like, Duke's a little bit kind of angsty. He's like, oh, so you think you're in charge? He's like, well, no, I'm just like, if someone has to take the lead, but if you want to take it, and he's like, no, that's fine, you can take the lead. Basically,
Duke, shut up, Duke.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
So they're kind of like gearing up, and we get some of this stuff set up where Bruce goes to get this information from the scientist, and there's a nice little joke here at the end where she's kind of looking at the big Batman or the Bat gargoyle-esque painting on the train station wall, whatever it is that she's kind of looking at. Kind of going, billionaires, like.
Well, I like here that basically he goes to get information on who Caliber was before, and she's not a scientist, she's a journalist.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and so he's like, well, tell me what you know. And she's like, well, I don't know why a billionaire would want this information. And then she tells him that, he's this mercenary. He's had, experiments done on him and whatnot. And
ties to Raz, ties to Shiva.
And all this.
And he says
he pays her to forget the information. I'll pay you double.
Yeah, just forget you ever read this and never look at it again because it's dangerous, and you don't want people knowing you know this. Kind of thing. And then we have, so Shiva got Black Lightning in last issue. She showed up and sort of met him, and they're having food, and she's kind of pitching him that she wants to take down Raz.
Yep. Because he's taking everything from her.
Yeah, and she wants Cassandra to think of her as a mother again, and obviously Jefferson's like, oh, she's never going to think of you that way again, and yada yada yada. But she's like, no, I want my daughter to trust me. I want you to help me do that. And so it kind of sets this up, and they realize that there's people watching them in the restaurant. So we get a bit of an action scene here where Shiva throws a knife, which, by the way, fantastic panel or series of panels. Where
there's a butter knife. Yeah. And takes out one of the guys. So the person they're there keeping an eye on is that Markovian weapons dealer that we dealt with in Brian Hill's detective.
Yeah, she's right. Yeah.
Story. And so they're there following her because we know that she's going to try to meet with Roz. And if they can find out what she's doing with Roz, they can take Roz down. So they take out her security detail. And her name's Dementieva.
Yeah.
Which cracks me up.
And
but,
they try and get away in a car. Jefferson blasts them with a lightning bolt.
Yep.
And basically, it's a very fun action scene. Art's really good because it's not an issue with a lot of action. This is basically a big action scene of the issue. And they're trying to talk to her on the beach, and that's when Caliber and Ishmael and Karma, they all show up, and they're all sort of because Karma was from his Detective Comics arc, if you remember. I couldn't remember his name, so I'm glad you did. I recognized him. I recognized the outfit. I just didn't remember what he's called.
He's got the mask that makes you feel things, and he's upset with Bruce or Batman and whatnot. But I do kind of show up and kill her.
I do kind of they kill her, and then so they two are on their own. The big cliffhanger is that a portal opens up. Or not a portal, sorry, like a smoke bomb, hits the ground, and Katana and Cassandra and Duke are there and saying, hey, we thought you might like some backup. But what I like about this, I like that, between Caliber and Ishmael, they set up these two characters, and then they revealed Caliber was actually working for the bad guy still, and they've brought back, his name again? Karma, thank you. I like that they've kind of formed a little trio of sub bosses here. These aren't the big bad, but they feel like a nice level of sub bosses before they get to Raz.
Yeah, it does, and this feels like a League of Assassins. I was calling it a League of Shadows, but that was different. We had another story about the League of Shadows.
Yeah,
early, and that's what the split with Shiva. So it all fits in. I don't know if that's why it feels so comforting. Is because it fits in to a narrative that's been being told throughout Batman and whatnot. But like you said, the sub bosses are all there, and then you have the other three to meet them. And I think it's funny that Karma's got a sword, and so they all seem to pair off here. It's going to be 5-on-3 at one point, but Katana and Karma can fight and whatnot. I'm excited to see what that action sequence looks like next month with Dexter Story. Batman's on his way with Sophia.
Yep.
They have theirs they're doing. So it's always a fun read. I really enjoy this book.
Yeah, honestly, this has kind of replaced Detective for me in the team book. And obviously, a couple of the characters are the same, but most of them aren't. But it's kind of fulfilling that spot in my.
And this is the second time that Hill's brought up Markovia. If you know anything about Batman and the Outsiders, Geoforce is always a member, and he's the crown prince of Markovia. So I'm wondering if this is where this is leading, if we're going to get him popping up at a certain point. Because as far as I know, we don't really have Tara, we don't have Bryan there. So I'm curious to see how this plays out in this rebirth before the generational stuff happens.
Yeah. No, I'm having a blast, and I think Soy's art's adding a lot to it for me. But
Yeah.
like, I do like what the story's doing, and I like having time with all these characters. I like that Batman is taking a back seat a lot of the time to let these other characters have their time, which is really nice. So, what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm giving this an 8. Solid, thoroughly enjoyable.
I agree with the 8. I think I've been enjoying this book every month. Which will actually take you two on to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy issue 6. Jody Hauser writing with Adriana Melo on the art. So take it away.
This ends the Harley and Ivy mini, right? As the last issue,
Yep.
And it wraps everything up as neatly as it can, and it kind of made me sad because I really enjoy reading this book. I'm glad I got caught up on it.
Yeah, it's a great book, and I don't know if you've seen, there were a bunch of people on Twitter this week upset about a moment, and I thought, oh, they're just kind of over exaggerating, and then I got to it, and I'll tell you, we'll get there because it's near the end of the issue, but I'm dropping an entire point for that moment.
Oh man, okay. Well, I like where this leads because you find out that the Poison Ivy that attacked them at the end of the last issue is the actual true Ivy.
Yeah.
And what happened was when she opened that gift from Luther with the fertilizer and whatnot, it created a bunch of basically saplings, or she calls them cuttings.
Yeah, they're just like little offshoots. So they are her in a way. They're just fragments of her. They're just they're not the true her.
So when Harley got out of there in the fire, right? She grabbed one of the offshoots and left the real Pamela Isley, Poison Ivy, there to burn. She's not happy about it.
Understandably.
Right. So while she's been on this adventure, it's really been the original Ivy that's been hunting them, not Floronic Man.
Yeah.
So,
it's Harley for just doing her own thing and
right.
not actually saving her.
Right, and that it all boils down to, she points out, like, you got so wrapped up in turning me in what you wanted me to be instead of what I truly am that you didn't even notice you didn't have me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really strong point. Like,
yeah, and when she accuses her of this, Harley's like, no, it's not like that. I love you. And she's just like, well, clearly not enough. But it's actually a really emotional moment. And it works really well. It is,
and it works really well. And it reminds me of in White Knight when Joker didn't realize, right, that there was two Harleys.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I like that. I like what that means with Harley being so focused now on being this anti-hero and wanting to drag wanting to drag Ivy with her. She didn't stop to think what Ivy wants to do and what this means after, we don't ever like to bring up heroes in crisis, but it did change her, right? This is a reborn Harley. It's the same one, right? That was
Ivy.
Reborn. Right. That's what I meant. Ivy. Yeah. Right.
I think what is interesting though is the cutting just kind of mentioned that no, these feelings they're still me. I am still Ivy. I'm just and when I'm kind of reabsorbed into the main Ivy, she'll remember that. And these feelings I've got all of the feelings for you right now. And that Ivy doesn't have them. But once I'm reabsorbed, we'll both have them. They'll be there.
It's still, so what I like here too, and I don't know if this is I don't know people had an issue with this. I do like that it adds a bit of, not confusion, but it adds a degree of difficulty to the relationship with this, right? Because now Ivy feels like she's kind of scorned, right? Like,
yeah, but we've got I'm just going to refer to this book's Ivy that we've had as our Ivy. She kind of mentions, she's not whole, not yet, and she doesn't remember, but she will, and this will come back around, and everything will be okay in the end.
Right, but what I'm saying is those feelings will always be there.
Yeah.
But if the prime Ivy is still upset, those are gonna. I mean, she'll still remember these times, but she's still mad that Harley took off. So that's what I mean by she feeling scorned, right? They don't have this clear, like, what's the right word? Because it is a complex relationship, right? But it's not as clear cut as it was here. That we thought like this whole issue was going to end with them coupling up in the further adventures.
I think that's the problem. Everything from the Palmiotti and Connor Harley Quinn run that kind of established this relationship has been pretty definitively no, they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And then this kind of it murkies it, and that's okay. There's drama here. And I don't think the people who are annoyed at this issue are annoyed at the quote unquote prime reborn Ivy being scorned. The problem actually comes slightly before that.
Okay.
And I'm with them. It's when, our Ivy is giving her the big speech, and, she leans in and goes to, give her a kiss, goodbye, and then just gives her a kiss on the forehead.
I see that.
And it completely, I get where that, because if you look at the panel before, they're leaned in, they're
well, it's almost like they got
there.
wet feet. They backed down from doing a full.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I can see that. I don't see how that would drop a full point for me because the sentiment's still there with the kiss on the forehead.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, because for me, I did feel that it was like this weird moment where, because they've kissed a bunch of times in comics over the past few years. Like this is not like a new thing. And then this moment here where the panel before, if you look at the panel before, they are leaning in for it. Ivy's got her hands on Harley's face, and it's there. And then the next is this full page, which should have been that moment of this Ivy saying goodbye and giving her that kiss with those relationship of that relationship, and then going to get reabsorbed, but instead kind of just doesn't. And it actually really took me out of the story because it was really weird. Because I didn't know, when people were complaining before I read this, I didn't know the full context because I hadn't read what exactly it was they were upset about. I just knew it was something about their relationship. And then I
get where they're coming from, but looking at this here, it still works for me because there's still affection there. Because they're both, Harley knows what's gonna happen, so it doesn't bother me. But if people were so invested in this, because of representation and wanting to feel like, I understand where they can see that they back down. But for me, it doesn't bother me because I feel that the effect is still the same, right? Like there's still.
I think for me, I did feel it because if you look at that two panels before that page, if you cut out that very last panel, so you got the panel before where Ivy puts her hands on Harley, she's Harley's on the floor and she's crying. Right. If you go from that into the next one, it makes a lot of sense. But with that next panel where Ivy is leaning right in and she is there, and then it does feel like she pulled away and changed her mind. And that's where I think the feeling of it being taken away comes from. At least from me reading it.
Yeah, and I feel like too it might just not be because of the girl aspect too. You want to keep relationships open for certain characters. DC's done this maddeningly over the years. Right. Yeah. So, but true. You just thought, and then I understand why people would be upset because you feel like, well, Joker's in the past now for Harley, and who knows with Ivy, going forward. It's never like she has a dead set, romantic interest outside of Harley.
And I think this doesn't actually this bit at the end doesn't ruin their relationship because it is, it's the two Ivies fighting. Our Ivy tells Harley to run and get away. Yep. And she fights and she does get reabsorbed. And she probably does still feel scorned. She's annoyed at Harley for, having left her and burn her. But she's got these memories now, and going forward with a little bit of time to mellow, she'll come back around, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then that's fine. And I like the narration at the end of, of the joke that Harley tries to tell, about the good twin and whatnot. And I do like here that she's like, love hurts. And this is gonna hurt going forward. I thoroughly enjoyed where this went. And I actually was surprised that's what the other Ivy turned out to be. It wasn't like, oh, this was an Ivy that, kind of figured that's what it was gonna be, but not in the same way.
Yeah, we didn't have it penned down exactly.
No, but I do like this relationship a lot. So I do hope we don't get away from it too much. All the humor was here, like again, down to that joke and how it fits with Harley, and then with Ivy going forward, her knowing like, well, eventually we'll come back together.
Yeah, and I appreciate in the action that you could always tell the two Ivies apart really distinctly because that could have been a challenge.
Well, it could have been. It's the way that the prime Ivy, the different flowers in her hair, she's a lot more ornate. than our Ivy, which is more.
It's very simple, and that plays into the idea that she's just a cutting. She's not the fully formed thing. Right. She's just a little part of her. Right.
Yeah. I still am waiting for a Cycle of Life and Death to be brought back up, because I figured maybe that's where this was going. But you know,
that seems to have been forgotten about. I mean, it was fun though. I like that mini.
It was. I like that mini a lot. I like how Ivy's trying to be an independent woman, and she ends up having kids on her own. That it doesn't go the way she wants it to be.
Yeah.
It was. Really enjoyed it. So what'd you rate in this one? After all that.
After all that, after knocking the point off, I'm giving it a 7.
Nice. I'm going with 7.5. I really enjoyed this. The same as the other issues. It was a nice 6-issue little mini that I felt was worth our time.
Right? Oh, definitely. And it was a really just solid, it wasn't like a big surprising conclusion. It ends kind of in a really natural way. So it's not like, look at all these big shock twists.
And I do feel it did a lot more emotional heavy lifting than stuff in Heroes in Crisis with Ivy.
Yeah.
Right? Because here she has all these emotions. She still doesn't know exactly who she is, but I feel this is a different Ivy than where we left her from Crisis.
Oh yeah.
Or even going into there with the Tom King story that none of us really enjoyed. Like, now we have a clear cut. So when we see her again, this is the de facto Ivy, I hope.
Yeah, I think the Ivy that we're going to have going forward is a little bit more confused. She's going to have these memories from this few months that she's spent with Harley, kind of wrapping around into that reborn, mind that she had that will maybe influence who she is going forward. That should be fun.
And it still works why I like her so much, because she could be a hero, but she doesn't like people, much like I don't like people. So I think there should definitely be less of them.
Yeah.
So that works out.
Yeah, it's solid.
Ooh.
Excellent. Just interesting, I was browsing Twitter as you two were rabbiting on.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, I'm seeing it, yeah.
Yeah, and Rachael Stott tweeted today that she was only meant to be on Supergirl till issue 40, but DC asked her to finish up the run to go to issue 42. Just ended the tweet with, also nothing lined up after this if anyone's looking for an artist. So
hey,
DC, put her on
get
something.
Her out there.
Yeah, put her on something.
Put
damn
her,
it.
guys, come on.
So yeah, and that takes you guys on to Hawkman, issue 21 anyway.
Oh boy.
Robert Venditti writing with Fernando Passarin on the art. Take it away.
Connor, how does Venditti keep doing this with the character like Hawkman?
I don't know. I cannot believe how much I'm in love with this book.
Just, I feel like too, like Green Lantern always works good with who the characters surround whenever Lantern's getting the story told about him, right? That's why we kind of like Hal and Pal so much, where he had Space Cabbie showing up, and I'm trying to think of some of the other characters. Oh yeah, they can't right now.
The guy in Arcalo stuff that we had going on.
Right. And here we've managed to get a supporting cast out of Hawkwoman, right? Out of the Atom, and now Adam Strange. And it didn't dawn on me until now that both of them were archaeologists, so of course they would hit it off.
Yeah. There's some really funny jokes in this. At one point, Hawkwoman, calls for. I think she's talking to Atom.
Yeah.
No, it's Adam she's talking to, and Atom also answers like, thinking over the comms that they just sound really similar, and then she's like, oh, fine, Strange.
Yes. Atom or Adam? Which one? Yeah. And that's where she says that. But yeah, so Adam is in his microship, and he's put himself close to the eye, to the ocular nerve, so he can see what's going on, and he realizes what's going on, that whatever this reincarnation is, Carter is still there.
Yeah, because he's seen that. Oh no, he's talking to himself, and he wouldn't be doing that if our personality wasn't in there.
Right. And then they put it together that the reason that they're there is Adam Strange says that there's an old Rainian legend about Catarthol, which is the one that we saw last time with the clergy cult.
Yeah.
Right. That there was this weapon that could destroy untold amounts of people. So they put together that the Sky Tyrant is essentially trying to prolong the reincarnation streak. And while they're figuring all this out, Sky Tyrant is fighting the Titan Hawk, which I hope he becomes a character. I feel with Adam there, you can shrink him down. You can, make him a normal member.
I'm really intrigued on Titanhawk because so we've got still this descendant of this family that's kind of being the Titanhawk here.
Huh?
And he talks about, the original, and there was, involved in the Sun Wars, I think it was.
Right.
I'm like, oh, show me that story, Venditti.
And the mace that was passed down from generation to generation, and just what does that mean? Like, so he is a descendant of Carter.
I'm not entirely sure if that's because he's descendant of a family that was protecting the legacy.
That's right. That's right.
There is the possibility they could tell us later that that was his family originally.
Yeah. But yeah, so him and Sky Tyrant are fighting because he's not going to let him into this vault because that's his duty, is to protect this vault. And Sky Tyrant's, I got him figured out, and he takes the mace and charges it. I'm assuming with dark multiversal energy here,
probably, yeah,
and lands a blow mace to mace that destroys this mace.
It just shatters it to pieces, and the Titan is just broken. He's like, this was past, the lines of these paladins for centuries. This belonged to the original. First wielded by Titanhawk in the War of Suns.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh man, this means a lot to him.
Yeah, and then Sky Tyrant does dirtbag things and knocks him out. He's still around. That's why I'm hoping that we seem to be picking up these characters. But so Strange goes in while this fight's going on. Adam gets out of there, packs his ship because he doesn't want it to cause, any clots around there.
and
I love.
Strange is like, please never get inside my body.
Yeah, please never. So Strange goes in there being an archaeologist and gets this key to the weapon, and barely makes it out because the temple starts crumbling.
Like a little bit of rock with some symbol on it. Yeah. I feel like I've seen it before somewhere.
Me too. That was going to be my point. That it feels familiar in that we've seen pieces of this. It's almost like when Carter was time traveling, time and space traveling. Yeah. I feel like we've seen it in the background somewhere, which probably on purpose, or maybe it was even in the last issue with the death clergy.
It could be, yeah. It feels familiar that we've seen it before, but I can't quite place it.
Right. So because of this fight with the Titanhawk and him, it also knocked out Sky Tyrant. So they're able to collect him and basically put him in a stasis tube. That Adam's like, well, he's fighting the infection of this dark metal, so it's only a matter of time. But now he's just closer to the key because they're on the Hawk ship.
Yeah, and then the final panel is Sky Tyrant locked up in the cell. His helmet and mace next to the key on the table outside his cell. And then the key lights up like this rock. And, I said there were these symbols in it and they glow blue.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's activated it?
Yeah. I can't get over how Venditti, who was a writer, I was not sold on. I read this, saw some Indiana Jones stuff in the first issue. I was like, well, I'm in for this. It's literally because this might be my favorite book month in, month out at this point.
It is up there. It is so consistent. There are often other books that have better issues than this.
Mm-hmm.
There are books where I go, oh, that was like a 9.5. That was amazing. And this book has rarely gotten that high. Yeah. But this is so consistently never below an 8.
Well,
maybe an 8.
It does remind me of when I started reading Green Lantern, right? This was, Jeff Johns writing a book. I don't have really any ties to Green Lantern at this point. I had read Rebirth, but that was about it. And then each month I found it became the book I look forward to the most. I would go to the comic shop and it would be the first thing I read. As soon as I get back into my truck. That's this with this book.
Oh, it's true. I was looking at my list of books last night before I started. I thought I'll read one before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? Nothing was really exciting me except for Hawkman. I've been really enjoying Harley and Ivy, and it was good. And there's Dollhouse Family, which we'll get to, which I've been enjoying as well. But it wasn't the same, and I wasn't really looking forward to Pennyworth, and I was just or the Flash for that matter, obviously.
Right.
But then there was this. I was like, oh, I'm excited to read that one. That was the only one that I was excited to read.
Yeah.
And and I would never have predicted that. Before this book started.
Me neither. Especially Hawkman, who again I've read, I'm familiar with, but nothing where I'm as invested here. Where I'm getting excited when Adam Strange shows up because of their relationship.
When I'm going, oh, give me that story from the past.
Yeah,
like, I want that
too.
story, and give me one of those little diary issues or a mini spin-off at some point. Whatever. I want to see it.
What's weird, we talk about how like Wonder Woman could support probably a second book. Weirdly, I feel the same about Hawkman right now, where we could have these tales of the past.
Yeah, we could have Hawkman and then the like a series of rotating minis as to past lives.
Right, and I would eat those up just as much. Like, yeah, you said the Sun Wars. See, that's up there now with Qatar Hole, or what was it, Cutter, the Kryptonian one.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I want to read his story. The fact that he was Kara's teacher on Krypton, or or even here the Rainian one. Like, what was Rand like back then? That there was a death clergy that's completely different than the Rand that I know.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting to see in the context of Hawkman's other main life has always been Thanagarian. Right. That's it's Earthel Thanagar. That are the main two that we've kind of flipped between for a long time. So and obviously Rand and Thanagar have a lot of history. So that would be really interesting to see.
Right. So yeah. So what's your rating, Hawkman?
8.5. Love this book.
5. Yeah. See, I'm going with a 9. This issue. Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the Adam Strange, the Adam element, like that entire sequence with Hawkwoman, right? That was pretty great as well.
The art is killing it right now. It's doing great on this huge scale fight stuff with the Titan, and then all the archaeology stuff is a lot of fun, and but it's nailing all the characters' faces and reactions a lot. There's a great 2-page spread of it's when the Titans knock to the ground, and then we've got underneath with Adam, and everything's kind of being destroyed under as he falls to the ground, it's destroying everything underneath him, and it just looks fantastic.
Yeah. See, I said this about Outsiders as well. This feels like one of those books that I read back that I got really excited for because it's playing its own world. Like, yeah, this is a tie-in, but it doesn't feel like a tie-in.
It's so strange that this is technically a Year of the Villain tie-in, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't feel. It just feels like this is the part of the story that Venditti was going to go to anyways. Yeah. With the story he was telling, and it's just, man, this and outside, it makes for a good week.
Right, well, that'll take us on to a returning book to the show, The Terrifics, which we've not talked about in like 7 or 8 issues. Because me and Matt both dropped it, but Matt said this week's a choose your own adventure.
Yep, I found that from Yang himself. He was on Twitter, and he was showing people how this was going to work in a comic form, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is awesome because it wasn't just like turn to page whatever. He built a story reason into this with the T infinities, right?
Yeah,
or the infinity spheres.
You were catching up for this, right?
Yes.
You read some of it before. I was considering it, and then looked at the preview pages for the Bizarro arc, and I was like, you know what? I can't be arsed reading pages of Bizarro speak.
That whole first issue almost made me regret my decision, but I kept going, and it's classic Yang, in that like not that we've been around Gene Lin Yang for very long, but you could tell he's having fun with concepts like the whole Bizarro concept and playing the reverse of things, where his Mr. Terrific's Mr. Terrible, but he is smart, but he's Bizarro smart. So there's things at play here. And just Bizarro being a Luddite and hating technology because it's made his Earth, which I'm not going to even try, it's Earth backwards, right? It's made him basically obsolete because of all the technology. So Bizarro goes back tries to go back in time to stop technology from ever being invented. And then that's what leads on this. And so I did get a little bit tired of having to read the Bizarro stuff, so I stopped, so I didn't get caught up before 25. However, 25 acts as a really good standalone, but also a jumping on point if you wanted to get back into Terrifics.
I didn't get caught up. I just jumped out of this issue, obviously knowing the team well enough, and it was just easy to do. So what's interesting, I actually saw you tweet something,
yes,
which intrigued me, because you said that you died, or you had the character, or you had the story sort of end in failure before you finally got to the true ending. I never did that. I didn't know that was a possibility.
Oh, look at the bragger.
I'm not bragging. I genuinely, like, Because you mentioned that you choose because in the second page you get a choice of saying, okay, which character do you want to take the lead? And what's funny is you mentioned that you took Linya, which is who I also picked, right? So I picked Linya, and that takes you to whatever page it was. Page 10 you go to, and eventually after a little bit of action, you get to like this tree, because it's this tree that's kind of fighting them, and there's like these bird creatures.
Yeah. So just to set up, they're in Gateway City, which is their home city, which I just realized it's supposed to be San Francisco at this point. And that there's this tree that is just attacking the city, and it's trying to occupy the same space. So they jump to get involved, and as they're getting involved, there's these crow creatures.
Let's call them what they are. It's the villains from the Power Rangers movie on the planet. Yeah.
Tengus. Yeah. But it's just not. So a Tengu is an actual Japanese mythological character. They're these bird warriors, and they're terrifying. If you're afraid of birds like I am, Tengu is your worst nightmare. They're basically bird ninjas, and I ain't got time for that. But yeah, so as you go, so basically Mr. Terrific has created these infinity spheres that somehow channel the bizarro time energy stuff that he was doing in the last arc. And it allows them to fix decisions, right? And it made me think Galaxy Quest, right? Of the machine and that. And it allows you to, So I play through Phantom Girl, and I get to, I play like it's a video game.
It kind of is in a weird way. But you get to this door, right? And there's doors. There's 4 knockers, right? And what you said in your tweet is that you didn't have the clue of which one to pick. Here's the weird thing. I just apparently picked a good one by accident.
Right. Because as I read, I read through this, and I'm like, well, what did I miss? Right. So I went and I did all the other branches that you could do. And if you start with Mr. Terrific, there's a clue in which door knocker to pick. So then when you play through again, you play through as one of the other characters, and that would give you the clue to pick the right knocker.
Yeah. No, I picked the one that took us to page 13, and apparently that was just the right one.
Gotcha. Right. You lucked out. I did not. I took to a page where the Tengus overwhelmed me, and you had to reset.
Yeah. I never even knew you could fail. Like, it never even came up.
There's major failures. If you start with Metamorpho, that's it. You turn the page, you're done. Because that's the wrong decision. You don't let Metamorpho, as much as I love him, you don't let him lead the squad. Yes. But yeah, so basically the main story through this is you get into Tengu City, and basically
just to explain this, there's an entire city of these bird people living inside the tree. Yes.
Right. And basically they've been displaced through some other events, and that Mr. Terrific has to come up with an idea that one has to be sacrificed to the other. But however, with these spheres, it allows you to see what happens through that. And I feel there's going to be more of this going forward, because if you choose to sacrifice Gateway City, as I did my second time through, to see what happens, it says, more to come with an ellipsis. But yeah, so I found that if you just follow as Mr. Terrific, if you have even the basic knowledge of him, if you follow what he would do, you're going to get through the right answer, right? If you try to change things up just for fun, that's usually what leads to failure. Or if you start with Plastic Man and make the wrong decision, either decision with Plastic Man. So the Plastic Man one, you start with him, and he decides he's going to lead the tree creature away from the city. And if you shoot the rocket over the water to the ocean, it ends up chasing you, and the Justice League of China shows up. And Keenan ends up angering the tree, because in all this time that we've been away from Keenan, he still has not learned that his arrogance gets the better of him, and it ends. Or if you shoot Plastic Man as a rocket east of the city, Harley and Ivy show up, and Ivy tries to connect with the Tree City, and everybody ends up getting crushed. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know Connor says he's not a choose your own adventure type guy. It weirdly works with the comic medium because of the way that the panels and like the same stuff. So even if you made the decision and turned to a page, there's different routes, right? Is you follow, when it says turn to page 13, there's other art on that page that leads, from another choice and stuff. But it was a real fun story on what it means to make decisions and to be a superhero. And just because you think it's the right decision doesn't mean it's going to end up that way.
This was a really quick read for me because once they got into the city, there was a couple of choices of do you intervene and help this old bird that's been attacked by the guards, and I did. And then I just went straight to the castle, and it got to making the choice: do we save, which did we save the Tree City or Gateway City?
Right.
And I picked, we'll save Gateway City, and then it ended, and it was like, okay, it was over. I was like, okay.
So you didn't go back and do any of these other ones?
No, because I read it today, so I didn't have time.
Well, so did I. I mean, I read it this morning. I saved it, so it'll still be fresh. But yeah, I did them all. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, I never got New Superman and Justice League of China. I never got Harley and Ivy. So
yeah,
it's nice that there's all these little sort of Easter eggs in there.
It made me remember, like, there was Choose Your Own Goosebumps. They're called Give Yourself Goosebumps. And I just remember there was a Rainforest Adventure one that at the end, if you took the wrong turn, you became the creature from the Black Lagoon. And it just, I hadn't thought about that in years. And reading this morning, I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Like the Choose Your Own Adventure books throughout the late 90s were a thing. I had a lot of fun with this. It's very well crafted too. Yang, you can tell, was having a lot of fun, and just his style is he's almost perfect for this kind of stuff. Just like the stuff that we were used to with Justice League China, playing out over here, and him playing with mythology the way that he does. I had a lot of fun with this.
I'm not particularly fussed about the Choose Your Own Adventure side of it. Like, I mean, it's nice that it has these Easter eggs, but I'm not particularly bothered by that one way or the other. I think, though, reading this, I was like, yeah, I kind of missed these characters. I missed the interaction between Plastic Man and Linya and Metamorpho, and just them bouncing around each other. And they're so solidified as a team now compared to a lot of that first, Lemire chunk was all about building them up to becoming a team.
Yeah, and what I appreciate about Yang is this isn't just Fantastic Four in DC. I felt that was what Lemire was doing. And here they are their own team. They have their own. They're almost like, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, they're kind of like the Doom Patrol. When weird stuff comes up, you send the Terrifics go in to investigate. And it just so happens that weird stuff's happening in Gateway City, their home base. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get caught up with all the Bizarro stuff, and then going forward, I think next month I'll be back for this, just because I did miss these characters. I had a lot of fun in it. With me dropping Flash, I have an opening spot right now on this week. So why not?
Yep. Yeah, I might be back for 26. I mean, why not? I mean, honestly, it was easy enough to jump back in. I don't think I'm going to go back and read the Bizarro arc, because honestly, I thought of going through it.
If you were annoyed by that preview, then don't, because it's what's kept me from getting back. I was just like, I don't want to deal with Bizarro. As fun as it can be, because he's time traveling backwards. So as he's going through the United States, different sections are ending up in 10-year increments. So in one point they're in the 90s, and so the art style, they all have pouches. And Plastic Man's like, where did all these pouches come from? Why do I sound the way I'm talking? And a lot of fun being poked at that. And then they end up in the 80s and the 70s. So yeah, just again, it's fun, and just with as dark as it can be right now, with Dark Knight's Metal going on and whatnot, like, it's good that the Terrifics are still fun, and they came out of that new age of heroes, and they're kind of only here because of Metal.
But it's actually really funny. On the cover, it still has Dark Knight's Metal in the little box in the corner. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, I guess technically
that is a bastion of an age gone by.
Yeah, that's weird.
It is, right?
I mean, as much as we keep joking, we're expecting this book to be cancelled. I will be shocked if it survives into 5G.
Yeah,
I'll be shocked if they're still around after the 5G kind of relaunch.
Yeah, but I'm gonna enjoy it.
Who knows? What changes will be made to the timelines of these particular characters? Will they even all sync up to be at the right age, at the right time now?
Right, which we never really had Mr. Terrific in until this book, and now he's the second character in Strange Adventures, right?
But that's Black Label though, so that's on its own.
I understand, but he's back in the consciousness, right? He was gone forever, and now here he is. I mean, he's showing up in Superman, Pete. Like, he was him and Plastic Man. So hopefully they have some staying power. I mean, Mr. Terrific Terry Sloan plays a big role in that Generation 1 coming up. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right, what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm going to give this a 9. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, Dan Moore's art I like as well. Dan Moore's pretty good. I can't go as high as that. I'm gonna go 7.5, but I do miss these characters, and I enjoyed reading them again.
It does sound like Pete experienced a lot less of what it was supposed to be than Matt did.
Yeah, I just entirely in.
I had one decision to make that apparently would have possibly led to death. And instead, I just happened to luckily pick the one that would lead, or unluckily, it depended on your viewpoint, that led to just finishing the story.
Until you get to 4 different door knockers, and it's really a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. And I got it wrong.
Yeah, but what I mean is, Matt, how many times did you go through it with, did you do it with all the characters?
I did it all. I went to every single one. And so it took me longer, but it was worth
that's what I mean. Like there are whole extra story beats and characters that Matt experienced that Pete just didn't get.
I think the point is you're supposed to fail and have to go back to the start, and I just never did. So I got to the end of the story, and I'm like, well, I could go back and see what some of the other branches were, but I didn't feel inspired to, because I'm like, well, I finished it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
And you're the video game guy, man. Like, I figured you would have went through this just to see.
I am so guilty. See, Matt, even though it's a game with choices, I am guilty of replaying it multiple times and always picking the exact same choices.
Oh, man.
It's just who I am.
I get that. You try. You go, this time I'll play it different.
Every time I replay Mass Effect, maybe this time I'll be Renegade, and I'm like, nah. Every time I'm a Paragon.
Can't do it, yeah.
I can't do it. All right, that is Terrifics 25, which takes out the final book of the week, which is The Dollhouse Family, issue 4, Mike Carey writing with Peter Gross on the art. And we get the next chapter in the story here, where after the bombing, which was the end of the last issue, we have her waking up in hospital, and she's lost her leg. She tries to get out of bed, and she just falls to the floor.
That was shocking. Like, when I saw her kind of okay, and you find out she's been in a coma for 5 weeks because of all of her injuries, you're like, okay, well, she's done some healing. And then she falls, and she's missing her leg. I'm like, oh, man, this is playing for keeps, right? Like.
Yeah. And then the kid runs in and had lost like half her arm.
Right. And she runs in with her dad, who they, had to make aware and he's like, 5 weeks ago, I found out I had a daughter.
Yeah. Because she's been in a coma for 5 weeks. It's worth mentioning that.
Yeah.
I did mention that already.
Because, so it's one of these things where throughout the issue, like, it's kind of this awkward family kind of building, and he's kind of there because he knows now, and she's kind of being grumpy, but he ultimately, like, she says, oh, you can just spend the night, and he's like, oh, okay, and he starts making the couch, and she's like, nah, you can come up the bedroom now, I've got needs. And he's like, oh, okay. And they kind of joke about, like, oh, I hope you're using a different brand of condom now, and things like that.
That's pretty great.
But it leads to this big dark kind of ending, because one of the big things in the middle of the book is that because the dollhouse is back, she, like, she's like, hey, take the kid to, like, get ice cream or something. I'm going, and she's like, talks to them, and she's like, no, you're not having my daughter. I am not making this choice. You're never getting me. It's done.
And then the deal that they offer is they'll give her arm back.
Yeah.
Right.
But basically, what happens is at the end of the issue, when they're going to have sex, is they pull the cover over, and her leg is back, and she's like,
she says her leg is starting to real itch, and she doesn't know why, and she throws the cover off, and her leg's back. She goes, oh no.
And she knows what this means, because it means the daughter's been given a similar offer. And she runs into the dollhouse, and the dollhouse is gone. And
well, not just that, it disappears, but she sees her daughter as a doll in
that's right,
in the house.
Yeah,
and
it disappears.
and
she sees the person from the orphanage takes her and
goes, no,
miniaturizes her daughter.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you, no matter what. We're gonna do this the hard way then. And I'm like, oh man. So I've been on record how much I love Basket Full of Heads. It's a real fun. This might be my favorite Hill House book, just with what it's doing with the story. Because here it jumped from it. This is my kind of horror where it's not like yeah, there's ghastly things, but it's not like scary, right? Like
it's not trying to do any like jump scares or creepy things like that. It's just
it's a gothic horror kind of story, right? Where it's the setting, and because we also get a flashback to the original guy that he goes into the cave to go kill the demon. Yeah, she ain't exactly a demon. She's definitely an alien.
Yeah, and she refers to the thing as an angel.
Right, the angel.
Which I thought was interesting.
Right, you got to be quiet. You'll wake the angel. Right, and then she takes his arm off, and then says, "Oh, you think this is just my form? No. My form's limitless, and I'm kind of." Shall we say she's grown fond of mouths, and becomes this horrific blob mouth creature.
It's just mouths and eyes, and it's kind of terrifying. I love it.
It's not bad. This is the kind of thing that like I'm really conflicted on, because, and this shouldn't affect the comic book because it's a comic book, but I can see like how they would try and do this in a movie and how much it would like just ruin it for me, because it would just be this big CG thing that wouldn't work for me. Like,
well, you say that, but also, let's say this is a thing, and they do the Carpenter method of low budget, and that's like it's like the thing where it's all practical. And it's what you don't see.
I can see, you know, the body kind of contorting, and you know, a bit like a little bit of body horror on that stuff, and it, you know, it kind of stretches out, and then you see this as a big practical thing.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it needs to be darker. I think the lighting's is too light. Like I feel like
sure. If this was a movie, you'd let it lighted darker just so you could hide.
Or it should go out.
I mean, even the comic, I feel like the coloring should have a darker tone to it.
I like though, because this is revealing what this is now. Like everything's in the light at this point.
That's my problem though. Is I just don't like how much I see of it. I think it's too like, that's just what it is now.
Yeah,
but
I also
it's
mean
not what it is now, because you know, as it says, you know, it doesn't have a form. These are just things it uses from time to time, and this one's.
I get that, but what I mean is that when you just show me something this monstrosity and just full plain view and light, it kind of like takes all of the not mystery out of it for me. Like, I just see a big goofy wacky idea now, as opposed to actually something that's actually scary or terrifying.
We'll see. I like this because this is the Phantoms, which that movie's not good, but the concept of Phantoms, right? Is you have this creature that has lived underground for centuries that now believes it's actually Satan, right? Because of the beliefs of the people and whatnot. And that's here where you feel like now this creature's lived there for so long that it's started to drink its own Kool-Aid. By the time it becomes the dollhouse, because we also see what happens to his son after the dad never comes back. They basically think that, you know, he might have committed suicide, but they're not sure. He just never came out.
Mm-hmm.
They leave his journal.
Right. And so the son ends up becoming more and more distant. Like, yeah, he gets married and goes to church and has a family, but he's always tinkering, and he never feels like there's always this sense of emptiness. And you can tell that through the time, this is what this creature has preyed on with this family, was this sense of emptiness and creating a family that's not really there, right? And that now it's upset that Alice, who has had everything thrown against her, has created her family without any of this, right? Like every time they try to throw a curve, she just hits it out of the park. And now I'm going to throw you the ultimate curve by taking your daughter and making you come and be with me. So I really like the story that's being told here.
The psychological side of this is fine. I don't like. I think all the stuff on the flashbacks is starting to be a bit just too visual and a bit too. Here's just a visual to all this, and it takes all of the actual. I don't know.
See, I don't mind that.
It's kind of like I thought it looked great.
It's kind of like what I don't like about Guillermo del Toro. I hate how he just shows all these designs all the time, and it sucks all the life out of it for me.
Whereas I'm a creature guy, so the more creatures you can show me, and that's why I tend to like most of his stuff. You know.
I'm in the middle ground where if the designs are good, then show me. Yeah. If it and in movies, if the costume of it and the effect of it is good, then show me what you can.
It's kind of this weird thing where it's not even just about how good it is, because obviously the effects. Let's just take Pan's Labyrinth for example, right? Obviously the effects in that are very good. People love the design of the things in that. The guy with the eyes in his hands, but like, I see those scenes and I get kind of taken out of the movie because I can just see like someone who loves designing this shit, designing something, as opposed to it feeling like it really creates an atmosphere for me. Yeah, but obviously sometimes this works for me because you look at something like the Xenomorph and that thing just works. And part of it's because it's in constant darkness and it's got this really weird natural feeling to it. I guess... I
think what I like about this though is the lack of design. It is just mouths and eyes, and that kind of works because it doesn't feel overdone and like, oh, we really put a lot of thought into how this is going to look and that's why we're showing it off. It's just this thing trying to scare this man, and how does it do that? And just...
Do you know what's funny? And obviously this doesn't need rules because it is supposed to just be a random form that this thing can take because she can do whatever she wants. But I think my like and dislike of certain designs does come down to rules. Not that there actually is rules that are stated, but when I look at something like the Xenomorph, there's a life cycle. There's like a reason why it has certain features and designs, and this is a life form that has kind of something, right?
But this is more akin to Pennywise and It. Where
just let me finish my analogy, because if you look at Pan's Labyrinth, I look at the creature in that, again, it's just in her mind, it's her fantasy, and it's this guy with eyes in his hands, and I'm like, why would he have eyes in his hands? None of this makes sense to me. That's just
I mean, because it's scary to that creature, person, and like in this case,
I'm not disputing. I'm trying to explain why it doesn't appeal to me. I'm not saying this is why you shouldn't do it. I'm saying that to me, it inherently makes it less interesting. I just don't like it as much.
And this is all taste. That's fine. I think though that what Mike Carey's doing here with the story is fear. I mean, everything comes around like that. There's this idea of a family curse and what that brings with you, and that so here there's an actual physical manifestation of what caused this family curse, like through the bloodline and whatnot. And so I'm okay with it being this. Like I was gonna say, it's like Pennywise and It, and like I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, but the thing that I attached to there is when I read about it is it's this celestial creature that can take whatever form it wants, even though it does have a form, right?
And true to what I've been saying, that's my least favorite part of like Pennywise and in the movies at least. I mean, I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I don't know about the book or anything, but
I think what interests me though is your whole thing is it has to have a rule of why it looks that way.
Well, it doesn't have to. I'm just trying to extrapolate what appeals to me and what doesn't.
No, I get that, but it's weird because for me the rule is this is what scares a person. So that is kind of a rule in its own right, surely.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because it's just designed to be scary and nothing else. I don't feel scared by it. I'm just like, oh, this is just a design.
Well, you're also not a guy in this 18th century.
Oh sure, right? yeah. Obviously, you can put me in that context. If I'm someone from an earlier time where the belief in demons and witches is rampant, then maybe I'd be more terrified of this thing.
And again, I didn't turn that page and be like, "Oh, scary." I went, "Oh crap." This just leveled up the game.
Obviously, if this thing appeared in front, obviously I'd shit myself because it'd be right in front of me. But the problem is that when we're talking from the context of reading a story or watching a movie or whatever, that. Like, I just can't, there's something I can't separate myself from, which is when it just feels like a design rather than something that feels like it belongs or is actually ethereal or...
The reason that this one works is because the whole thing is this, it was this beautiful woman, it was all this lust for him, and then this is the complete opposite. It's this, it's huge, it's just mouths and eyes, there is nothing physically attractive about it, it's the worst possible thing.
But to be fair,
and that's all this.
But
before
she turns into this thing, though, in this issue, she's not an attractive woman. She has the head of the attractive woman, but she's got like wings and she's got like horse legs.
Right.
She's already disgusting. She's already looking freaky before we get to the big mouth thing.
But it's just it's a scale of like, this is so far in the opposite direction.
I guess it's excess for me, where I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's big and disgusting. Yeah, whatever. Like. It takes me out of it. Whereas the actual psychological drama of like it trying to convince her to like give in, and then taking her daughter, and the realization that it's went after her daughter, like all of that stuff is super interesting to me because
I just feel it worked both ways for me. They
complement each other.
Yeah, and that who knows what we're gonna get when she goes in there, because we know she's gonna track this down, right? Like there's 2 issues left. So like, and now she has backup, right? She has this guy that she didn't want anything to do with, right? Because she wasn't going to put this burden of her family curse on him. But then he's kind of like, I just found out I had a daughter and I've never been happier.
That was super dark. That moment where he's like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me?" She's like, "Well, I didn't know you. I didn't trust you." She's like, "Yeah, well, I found out when the police came and said, 'Here's your daughter. She's just had her hand blown off.'"
Right.
Like, that's got to be gut-wrenching.
And then you're right. And then the fact that he calls her unicorn, right? Like, here's this creature that shouldn't exist, but it does now.
Yeah.
And it's in his life, and now he's pulled into this as well, based off of a one-night stand in college.
Yeah, and he sees this happen at the end as well. He's there behind it, so he sees the dollhouse disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you think
he's pulled into this as well? So I'm like, if Netflix ever chooses to do an adaptation, or Amazon, or whoever, I'm here for this and fleshing this out even more. And for whatever reason, this is a story that I really enjoy.
I'm curious how they actually found the father, to be honest, because there's no reason why they should be able to find out who he is.
Well,
he's probably on the birth certificate.
Yeah, if she listed
why would she list him in the birth certificate, though?
Because he's the father. Why wouldn't she?
Right. She just didn't tell him.
You don't have to list the father in your birth certificate, though.
Yeah. You also don't have to not do it either.
True, but given that she didn't want him to be a part of the kid's life, it makes less sense to me that he's on the birth certificate.
It wasn't that she didn't want him to be a part of it, is she didn't want to burden him. He was just a college student. So she was just like,
Yeah, it wasn't like she was some terrible guy that, he can never meet her. It wasn't like that. It was more just hey, I don't want him to have anything to do with this because I don't trust him, I don't know him, but...
she never thought it would come to this.
I mean, sure, but just given the fact that he wasn't in their life, to me it made more sense that he wouldn't be on the birth certificate, because it's just her choice to put his name on or not. So I don't know.
Maybe she had enough respect for the fact that he was a person. He didn't do anything wrong. Right. He deserves to have this acknowledgement. Because
I get the vibe too that she feels like she has guilt about not telling him when he brings it up. And just how he's taken care of her for the 5 weeks she's been in the coma. Right, like he's a decent guy, and then what would have her life been like? Sans dollhouse, right? What would have her life been like if he had been there the whole time? Like maybe the family curse wouldn't have affected him because she's actually built a family, and she wouldn't be tempted and whatnot. But yeah, no, I like everything that it suggests. And then when the police talk to her about how this terrorist would have targeted her. And it's not adding up to the police.
And she's like, but how would he have known I was there? I always, drive her. We were only on the bus that day because I'd lost my keys. And she kind of has that moment.
It clicks to her.
Did I lose the keys? What happened?
Right. So, and then she starts piecing it together that this is the dollhouse that's doing it. So yeah, no, I really enjoy this. And I love basketball heads as well. I didn't expect to like this as much as I do. And I'm glad I saved this for last. I think
going back to the monster design for when all the mouse stuff. No, I want to make this final point because I feel like there are times when this kind of thing can work for me, but it has to work for me on a pure impressive level where just the look of it is kind of astounding, and it's especially hard for a comic book to do that because it's a comic art. You can literally draw whatever the frack you want. Whereas in like a movie, if you show me something that looks completely like unbelievable that I've never seen before and wows me with how it looks, it might almost work for me just because of the sheer visual like imagination of it. Whereas this, I look at this art and I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but like you could have literally drawn anything you wanted to and nothing about it feels special because it's just what it is. It's just the idea.
I mean, it could have been a horse with bees for legs for all we know, and I still think it would have worked for me and Connor. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh sure,
it was more the idea than the design. Like the design is. It's fine. Like I said, it's really simple. It's just mouths and eyes and flesh. And for me, that's what it was. It's the simplicity of just, hey, we're not overdoing it. It's just a big blob with things that is pretty.
Well,
terrifying.
you thought and the whole point.
And to me, that is overdoing it though. Is the thing because I'm seeing it all. The creature's
like, oh, you came to kill me with that magical knife, huh? Well, I bet you didn't count on this. And then it becomes something that's so overwhelming, right? Yeah, it's completely alien to him.
It's not terrifying to me, like as a concept. Looking at this design, I don't go, "Oh, that's really scary." But because you're with the man there, and you get his terror at seeing this design, at seeing this creature in front of him, that's what makes it work for me.
Yeah, I don't know, pulled me out of it a little bit. I just felt like all the mystery of it was gone, all the kind of ethereal nature of it gone. It was just here's a big blob thing. Right in front of you. Matt, Mike. Jesus Christ.
the line, you can do a lot with mouths, just in the context of what, he did with her in that cave the first time. That adds a little, like, ugh. What went on in that cave?
Yeah. I'm so glad this book is delivered, because I think this is my favorite as well. Even though maybe Basketful has had individual issues that are stronger, as a story at the pace of where it's moved, this is definitely my favorite. And this was the one I was kind of most looking forward to going in, because I like this team from this writer and artist from their Lucifer run. So the fact that this has delivered is or at least so far. I mean, you could shit the ending, who knows? But so far,
I doubt it from where we are, right?
Yeah. I'm just so glad it did deliver in that.
It's ramping up. Like I can't wait to read this again. I can't say that a lot with comics, because we read so much of them. I can't wait to read this again, like in trade form.
Yeah,
straight through. It's gonna be real good. Or hand it to people that I know and be like, "You want a good,
I think as well, like, all the time jumps makes it work really well issue to issue, like monthly, as opposed to just reading it straight through. Like Basketful of Heads is going to read amazingly in one sit, because it's such a condensed time frame where everything's immediately after the next.
And I hate to compare them because they are so different, right? But given that concept and my sensibilities, I knew I was going to enjoy it. So the fact that it's surprising me in every issue, it always be like, well, is this the one that's going to break it? No,
it had a much harder concept to sell, didn't it? It didn't sound as immediately intriguing or appealing. It was like, okay, I guess I'll see.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like the plunge that comes out next week. We're all stoked for that, given what,
because we know they're doing the thing.
Expect.
Cool, I'm in.
Right. So and it'll probably be amazing, given what
that's something with good creature design. Just putting that out there.
I said that earlier.
And what do you know what I love about this thing? I love that it's delightfully random, because it's just like it's just a reaction. This thing's just bonding and like contorting, and
it is trying to survive as much as the humans are trying to survive.
It's a petri dish just reacting to itself. That's all it is. It is wonderful. But anyway, so obviously I'm not as hot in Dollhouse Family this issue. It's not as appealing to my sensibilities quite as much.
It's kind of funny that you seem to be really taken out by this big monster thing, and it's like 3 pages at the start, and then the rest, that's it in terms of that. I mean,
it's the start of the book. Like all the present day stuff I liked. I think I liked the backstory stuff when it was more kind of like there's something in that cave, and it was more mysterious, and it was more whatever.
Your imagination is always gonna be more scary than what you see.
There's still so much mystery as to what is this angel like. How is that going to come back around in the present day? Were these
two space gods having a battle that got stuck on Earth? Like, is that what this?
I mean, that's interesting, but I'm less interested in what's in the cave now, just because, like, this is just too much visual stuff. Because the imagination is always better when it comes to things like these, and I wish it had stayed to a point as an imagination. Give me the ideas, but don't give me the raw visuals.
That's always been my theory about Lovecraft, and why movie and TV adaptations have never really hit until really True Detective, because the imagination's always scarier, right?
I don't know if I agree about True Detective, but sure.
Well, no, True Detective is a straight up Lovecraft story, down to the creature. In what you don't see is far scarier what you do see.
No, what I mean is I don't know if I agree if it's that good to say that it bucked the trend.
That first season was good enough to say that it was good.
Yeah,
it's well made. I don't know. I didn't love it as much as everyone else did at the time, and I've grown softer on it since.
No,
I have never wanted to rewatch that first season. Like the thought of
I want to, but the fact is, it's a lot. And I don't know if it would be as fun as you're not piecing it together. So, but no, I just feel like that's why we haven't had like the standout Lovecraft movie. Like the next closest one is John Carpenter's The Thing, right? Like
I do genuinely think that someday we'll get that perfect Call of Cthulhu movie. I do think it'll happen someday.
But that's, I feel like it's so hard to do because of what Pete's talking about, where the imagination and what you think is going on being versus showing what's going on. I feel that's what's held it up. And there might be Lovecraft scholars out there that
I think you can do quick glimpses of things. I think with Lovecraft it's a weird one because Cthulhu does have a design, and it is a pretty out of this world design.
But also the Cthulhu mythos wasn't Lovecraft, right? That was stuff that was added by other people later.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So like, and I'm not that much of a scholar to know, like, did he just come up with a concept of Cthulhu, like of the dark ones and the old ones, and then the design came out of the mythos? I don't know. But the other stuff that I've read, like the Ipswich horror thing, or the Dunwich horror and stuff, it's a lot like Dollhouse Family, where there's this thing that's being held up in an attic and you're not quite sure what it is, and it leaves it to your imagination.
I think, yeah, just to bring us around to this book, the reason why it works here for me, as opposed to, like, we're talking about, these Lovecraft things fail because of the imagination and the. This wasn't trying to be a Lovecraft thing. It wasn't ever doing that. So this doesn't feel like it's a betrayal of its premise.
No, not to me, but I feel that's how Pete felt.
I don't feel it's a betrayal. It's going further than I would have liked with showing some of what it's showing, especially in the flashbacks. I like all the human drama of what it's doing is working really well. I'm just, when it comes to certain things in horror, I like them to hold back on what they actually shows, especially when it's something otherworldly like this, which is so, like, to me, the giant is much more interesting because, well, it's huge, it's still just a humanoid. Like, there's something far more interesting to me about that because it's something that isn't as weird. So it feels weirder almost because it's like something we know, but it's just a little bit different, right? Or a big bit different, I suppose, if you talk about the size. But like, it's a horror taste thing more than anything else. And I'm someone.
I think that's what it comes down to, and everyone has their own different taste. Like, I love creature stuff. Like, I'm always looking for the next werewolf movie that might be the one, right? Like, I got American Werewolf in London. That's about it.
Ginger Snaps is fantastic, Matt. Go watch Ginger Snaps.
I need to watch Ginger Snaps. I always have to wait for Halloween.
I've got a couple other sort of B-tier werewolf recommendations for you, but watch Ginger Snaps first, and then I'll tell you about the Badass Blind Man one.
Yeah, and then I just love creature stuff. We all know this. I love Kong Skull Island, right? Like, I love big monsters, and they don't even have to be scary monsters. Just the Bigfoot. You know?
Matt's like really glad he's not reading Sea Dogs in these issues.
Oh yeah,
because
I can't.
You dropped that last one, and then it's like, oh well, you're screwed now.
But that's the thing. You're saying that you like that when it's not horror, and I think they work better when they're not horror because it's not trying to do that. That said, I will say this: Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, and some people don't like that movie, but what I love about that movie is that it makes Godzilla feel like he is otherworldly, and he's this monolith. This being of a godlike creature. It really feels like that when you're watching that movie.
And then Doherty does the complete opposite in King of the Monsters.
Yes.
Whereas, he's just one of these things. Here's all these other things, and now let's watch them fight. And you know what? I enjoy both of it. Like,
yeah, me too.
So I love creatures. I love big. It's why I was always drawn to Power Rangers as a kid. Right, because the monsters that they fought, and
yeah, but that's goofy and silly, and
No, I know, but they're still there, But I'll always take, I guess here's another one, Troll Hunter, right? Those are creatures that it's not. I mean, it's played for horror, but
again, but there's a sort of a dark sense of humor kind of that goes along with it. It's not taken completely straight.
When you see the giant one, though, I always got giddy. So it's my taste. That's why me and my wife always argue that I tell her that Bigfoot's more real than ghosts, and we argue, and it's still not settled. But yeah.
All right, let's rate this book so we can wrap up. Matt, what are you giving it?
Give this an 8.5.
Connor?
Yeah, 8.5 for me too.
7 for me. So there you go. So yeah, that'll take us on to the last part of the show. We pick our favourite stuff for the week. We do our favourite panel / what?
Did you not read Batman's Grave this week?
I did not, no. We do our favourite panel / moment. We do our favourite art of the week, favourite cover of the week, and top 5 books. So we'll start off with panel / moment. Matt, what have you got?
I feel I would betray myself if I don't make it the booster moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be the booster moment. Although I also want to shout out to the Terrifics for surprising me with Keenan and the Justice League of China. That's a real fun moment. And then a more serious one in the Pennyworth RIP, him going to Crime Alley on the anniversary of their marriage. That oh man, that hit me in the feels.
Yeah, that is all good. Who am I going with actually? I think I have. Yeah, I think I have to go with the teacher stuff in Superman.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I think that's what really sticks out for me is him just wanting to make sure that teacher knows that he never cheated with his powers. It's just a really sweet idea. So that's what I'm going with. Connor?
I'm going with the moment in Harley and Ivy where she's trying to appeal to Ivy Prime, and it's just like, I love you, and it's this actual emotional moment.
Mm-hmm. I really thought you were going with the Titan Hawk. That's why I left that off. So I don't want to step on you.
No, that's up there though.
Yeah, that's good too.
Favorite cover of the week, Connor?
That would probably be the Hawkman variant.
It's pretty good.
I quite like it.
Matt?
I'm torn between the Terrifics because it has all these people, but we all know how much I hate when a cover doesn't represent what's going on in the book, like at all. So I think I'm gonna have to go with the Jan and Harley and Ivy, because that's exactly what happens in that book, and it's Shannon drawing Ivy. How do I be mad at that?
It's a good cover.
Yeah.
I have zero idea what I'm picking, to be honest.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough week for covers because I checked a bunch before we started.
Yeah, nothing really like sort of stuck with me enough to say, hey, that's my cover. Batman Answers is fine, but it's not exactly. It was fine art, but it's not like necessarily like a super great sort of concept for a cover. Honestly, yeah, I'm going to go with that Michael Cho Terrifics. And I think in terms of just a pleasing image, piece of art.
I didn't really enjoy that one.
I'd probably go with that. Really, nothing else is sticking out with me. Like, Supergirl's variant is nice overall, but the face is just too anime. I can't. The face is just too anime, and I can't give it to it.
There's something about the colors and the inks on the Cho Terrifics variant that just doesn't work for me. They feel like the characters are like pasted onto the background.
Hold on a second, actually. Hold on a second. The Hawkman variant. I didn't even read Hawkman, but I'm going to go with the Hawkman variant.
You mean the one I went with at the very start?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd forgotten I'd seen it and liked it. Yeah. Someone showed this to me earlier in the week, and I thought it was quite a good cover. So you know what?
Trevor Heston as well, who obviously did Deceased.
Yeah, I didn't like his art in Deceased though.
Yeah, that's why that was notable that you're picking it.
But this cover's quite good. I guess he spends a lot more time in his covers than he does his faces of the people on the regular panels. So.
Ooh, man, that's shade. That's really that gigantic tree in Terrifics.
All right, that's covers. Favorite art of the week. I suppose I'll jump in here. Do you know what? I was tempted to go with Rachael Stott there for a second, but
then you remembered
Dexter Soy on Batman: The Outsiders. Yeah. I think I have to give it to him. I have to give it to Dexter Soy. So, Matt.
I think I'm gonna go with. Who do I go with? I'm gonna go with Passarin on Hawkman. That one's real good.
Cool, Connor.
Yeah, Passarin on Hawkman, and there wasn't even a question.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So top 5 books of the week, Matt.
All right. Number 1, Hawkman. Number 2, Terrifics. Number 3, Dollhouse Family. Number 4, Superman. Number 5, Batman and the Outsiders. I think that checks out. If not, I don't care.
All right, Connor.
Hawkman, Dollhouse Family, Harley and Ivy. I guess The Flash and then Pennyworth. I mean, I don't really care. I had like 3 books I really liked, and then 2 that I didn't really like that much.
Does Connor even like comics anymore? Like, I mean,
he does. He likes Hawkman, and I'll stick up for him for that.
I feel like I had a better week last week, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna ride that 2-man bike of Hawkman right now.
I didn't. I don't think I had a good week last week actually.
No, it was the week before I had a good week.
Yeah. So my top 5, I will probably go with the Shut Up Car, whoever that was.
Yeah, no, it's just my window's open.
They're just trying to censor Pete's options.
Yeah, I don't know which one it came from. Obviously, it's Matt saying it's him, but I couldn't tell. It was just like whoever that
There's
is.
no cars out the back of me, so you'll never hear cars. You might hear planes, but you'll never hear cars.
You live that close to the airport?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so all right, my number one. This is actually kind of a tough week to pick my order because I had a lot of books that were kind of in that just sort of similar range of being solid. I think I'm going to go with Superman Heroes at number 1, Superman at number 2, Batman Outsiders at number 3, Supergirl at number 4, and I guess Terrifics at number 5.
I did not read a single book on your top 5.
That's hilarious. So there you go. That is our top 5 books of the week. I will tell you what is coming next week on the show. We have Aquaman 57, Batman 89. We have Deceased Unkillables number 1, so that's back, which is exciting. We have Flash Forward issue 6 is coming out. I mean, we're not going to do that, but it's out. We have Joker Kill a Smile issue 3 of 3. I thought that was of 4 for some reason, but apparently
no. It's
no. You're thinking of the Question.
Yeah,
probably. Justice League 41 is out. Legion of Superheroes number 4. The Lolo Woods issue 3. Some more Hill House stuff. We have Metal Men issue 5. Nightwing 69. We got Plunge number 1, which is the new Hill House book by Joe Hill. We have Jimmy Olsen number 8. I will mention Superman Smashes the Clan issue 3 is out, even though that's not something I've been covering on the show because it's like 80-page issues. Teen Titans 39 is out. Titans Burning Rage, which is the last of the Walmart reprints for that Titans book. We got Wonder Twins issue 12, so the final issue of that is out. Wonder Woman Dead Earth issue 2, so issue 2 of the Wonder Woman post-apocalyptic Black Label story. And that is it, so pretty much. So
a pretty healthy week, 12 books between us.
Yeah, so totally fine week next week. And next week should have sales figures, so I look forward to that.
We don't have time for that next week. Look at all those books.
I'll find time. People love the sales figures.
Didn't the top 10 already come out? Wasn't that good enough?
No, well, we didn't talk about it. Did you tell me what is pause and go and get the top 10, come back and talk about it now?
I'm just saying, Wonder Woman was number 1. Don't need any more than that.
No. We'll talk about it properly next week. Don't let Connor try to ruin it with his gingerness. So this has been episode 194 of Comics from the Multiverse. So you can, of course, let us know what you think of the books in the comments below. You can like and subscribe and ding the bell on YouTube. I will take this time to thank our patron producers for the month. So thank you to David Short, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios, and Tyler Hess. That means they're all patrons at the $20 or above tier. But you can, of course, support us for as little as $1 per month over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonus outtakes. Me and Matt usually do a little wrestling talk, and you get that at the $1 tier as well as bonus episodes of some of our movie podcasts, so go and have a look. $5 tier gets you early access to a bunch of stuff, including these comics podcasts. You get these one day early at the $5 tier, so go and have a look and see if you're interested. And of course, you occasionally get voting rights on Previously in the Multiverse, the other comics show. Episode 4 of which will be coming this coming week, so look forward to that. But is there anything else I need to promote or plug or anything else? Matt always shakes his head because he just wants me to finish quickly as possible. But but all the same, I'm going to make sure if there's anything else I need to say. I don't think there is actually, though. So that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Yeah. Passarin draws good.